We'll get started. We'll call to order the full City Council meeting for February 15th, 2022. The clerk will call the roll to record attendance.
Anderson Burgos.
Here.
Bartley. Gibner.
Here.
Jordan.
Here.
Maldonado Velez.
Here.
McGee.
Here.
McGivern.
Here.
Murphy Rumboletti.
Here.
Coelho.
Here.
Israel Rivera.
Here.
Jenny Rivera.
Here.
Tallman.
Here.
Bacon.
Here.
Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
God bless America.
in the city of Holyoke.
And City Council.
Just to get started, we did pull the name for the counselor to go first. If there's voting, that was Counselor Jenny Rivera. I'm just kidding. She said to me, "Don't pull my name." I don't pull. That's not the rule. So it was Counselor Bacon. So if we have roll calls, it'll be Counselor Bacon. Counselor Bartley has entered, so he is now present. With that, there's some items that are laid on the table. Item 1 is the minutes from January 18th. I know they came in and people want to review them. Is there, to take it off the table, is there a motion?
Motion to take off the table?
Motion is to take off the table. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion be receive the minutes unless there's something that someone saw an issue or want an amendment or a change. Anything? No? A motion
Motion receive.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Next is items 2 and 3. They kind of go together, so you want to take those up off the table as a package?
Yes, Mr. President, could we also take late filed A and E with those two?
All right, so why don't we take up 2 and 3,
Three.
take them off the table first?
Take off the
Is there a
table?
second? Is there a second to that?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? So 2 is public service. This is for appointing for the Community Preservation Committee. Both are, one is for Ms. Mirabel Trees and then Nunez. So also Councilor Tallman has said to suspend the rules, take up 2, 3, and A, late file A and E as a package. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? A is the communication from Jeffrey, our admin here, and he gave a very good detailed history as to appointments and how it started off as a 1-year, 2-year, 3-year appointment, and then it rolled into 3 years, but then alternating years. Everyone should have received that. Are there any questions for Jeffrey on that? Seeing none. E is an order from Councilor Jordan and myself, ordered at the City Council, appoint and fill the 3 at-large appointments for the CPC, with the remaining years for appointment, which expires January 31, 2023. The other one, January 31, 2024, and then January 31, 2025. So with that, the one for 2025 is currently about to end. That's for Megan McGrath Smith, just for everyone to know. Councilor Tallman on 2 and 3.
Yes, on those 2 appointments, Jeffrey did a great job explaining that. When we first started this with the appointments, the council appointments is 1 year, 2 year, 3 year staggered. But after that, they go into 3-year terms. And what happened is, I think it was last year, I think it was either June or July, one person had left early, and then Kip Foley, I believe, left in November. So those are the 2 appointments that they'll be filling, and it's written out, it's laid out there, the expiration date on those are 2 appointments. But as they go on, it'll be 3 years now. We did that in the beginning, but these are council appointments, and I appreciate Councilor Jordan and Councilor McGee put in a late filed order since they are council appointments. That has to be done. They're not mayoral appointments. So I just asked to, since we did have the interviews on them last month, that we approve these appointments.
Councilor Jordan.
Yes, Mr. President. I also want to thank our administrative assistant for helping us get to the bottom of the who's on first with these. So I don't have a problem voting on these candidates even tonight if everybody feels comfortable. My only thing is, do we feel it was fair that it was posted, that people had an opportunity to apply to these? If that's the case, then I feel totally comfortable supporting these three candidates to go into these three positions. I think the exercise here is just to make sure that one goes into a 1-year term, a 2-year term, and a 3-year term, that we get back on the cycles. I think there was a little bit of a honest misunderstanding about the successive terms. Once you start there, that the terms are on a January 31st cycle. But somehow there was a little bit of a misunderstanding about when the successor was appointed, they sort of stopped having the staggered terms that was intended in the ordinance. So I think we're good on that piece now, and whichever one, I'll defer to the president, maybe the chairman of public service, who goes into which one, but we have one ending in 23, 24, and 25, and I don't see any reason we can't move forward with these three candidates tonight. And I think Mrs. McGrath is in the 25 seat currently, so that might be easy. So it's just a question of the other two. So then we could move forward, Mr. President. I would make a motion to go to the first ballot on say the 2025 seat, and then do the 24, 23, however the chairman wants to do it.
I think that would make sense, just so we don't have any confusion. So there's 3 seats to fill. One was Rick Dominguez. He left early. His will expire January 31. So they're all going to expire January 31, but his is 2023.
Okay.
The other one is 2024, and that was Kip Foley.
Yep.
The one that is still, it's going to expire, but she is still there, that's Meg McGrath Smith. If we approve her tonight, it'll expire January 31, 2025.
Mm-hmm.
So I agree with Councilor Jordan. I say we go with hers because she's currently in the seat. Your vote, I'm not going to tell you how to vote. If we approve her, then we'll go to the next one, which would be 2024, then 2023. Does that make sense so everyone's on the same page?
Nope.
Okay, Councilor Tallman.
Yeah, Mr. President, on that, since her term isn't up yet officially, can we still vote on that, Meg McGrath?
It actually is, because it ended January 31st, 2022.
Yep, she's.
Oh, hers did end,
Yeah.
okay.
So now
Okay.
she's up for a new 3-year.
Okay, I spoke to her about this, and I understand we couldn't have it approved at the last meeting because we don't know the cycle, but the important thing is they wanted to have a meeting this month, but they couldn't because they have a quorum. So I think it's important that we can get these people on there. So she did plan on having a meeting in March, but she needs the other 2 bodies on there, the individuals to be there to have the meetings.
Yep, I think that's the plan right now, is to fill the 3 of them, if you're okay with that.
Sounds good with me.
So
Yeah.
motion was to go to the first ballot for the 2025, which is currently Meg McGrath Smith, it just ended for her. Any questions?
No.
All right, so go to the first ballot. The clerk will call the roll, and you'll state the name of your person.
Bacon,
Ms. Smith?
Anderson Burgos,
Ms. Smith.
Bartley,
McGrath Smith.
Givner,
Smith?
Jordan,
Megan McGrath Smith.
Maldonado Velez,
McGrath Smith.
McGee,
McGrath Smith?
McGivern,
Megan McGrath Smith.
Murphy Ramboletti,
Megan McGrath Smith.
Coelho,
McGrath Smith.
Israel Rivera,
Megan McGrath Smith.
Jenny Rivera,
Megan McGrath Smith?
Tallman.
Megan McGrath Smith.
Megan McGrath Smith voted on the first ballot.
With your vote approved her till January 31, 2025. Next, we'll go to the 2024. Go to that ballot.
Yes, I make that motion.
Motion is to go to fill the 2024 ballot. We have 2 candidates. You have Ortiz and Nunez, and I guess, was there any?
One of them was, can you just give us the successors? Maybe the administrative assistant can help, because I think that might help us as to who should go into which one.
So Nunez the intention was to fill the 2023. The 2024, which is up now, would be for Ortiz.
And could we have Miss Ortiz's first name? please?
Maribel?
Maribel, thank you.
All right, so with that, the clerk will call the roll or for the first ballot for the 2024.
Bacon?
Maribel Ortiz.
Anderson Burgos?
Miss Ortiz.
Bartley?
Ortiz.
Kibner?
Ortiz.
Jordan?
Maribel Ortiz.
Maldonado Velez?
Ortiz.
McGee?
Maribel Ortiz.
McGivern?
Maribel Ortiz.
Murphy Ramboletti?
Maribel Ortiz.
Puello?
Ortiz.
Israel Rivera?
Maribel Ortiz.
Jenny Rivera?
Maribel Ortiz.
Tallman?
Maribel Ortiz.
Maribel Ortiz appointed on the first ballot.
With that one, you approve the 2024. The last one would be the 2023.
I make a motion to go to the first ballot. on the
Motion is to go to the first ballot. The
Second.
clerk will call roll. The current person was Rick Dominguez, but now it's Francesca Nunez.
Okay.
Bacon?
Francesca Nunez.
Anderson Burgos?
Miss Nunez.
Bartley?
Nunez.
Kibner?
Nunez.
Jordan?
Francesca Nunez.
Maldonado Velez?
Nunez.
McGee?
Nunez.
McGivern?
Francesca Nunez.
Murphy Ramboletti?
Francesca Nunez.
Puello?
Nunez.
Israel Rivera?
Francesca Nunez.
Tallman?
Francesca Nunez.
Francesca Nunez appointed on the first ballot.
With your vote, you've approved the 2023. Next is public comment. There's no one here that is signed up. Is there anyone online? Oh, wait. All right, all right. So, name and address, please. It's got
The
to
mic.
be on.
Microphone center.
My name is Jose Adastra. I live on 139 Hillside Avenue. If we want the violence to stop, if we want less drug use on the street, if we want less homelessness, if we want to stop losing our friends, I know it's not happening to all of us, but it is happening to some of us. We're losing our friends to overdoses and to gun violence. And we're going to continue to lose them unless we prioritize it. We can say that we care about families, but every time we incarcerate a parent and we leave a family without support from their city, financial, emotional, and otherwise, that's a failure of everyone in this room and everyone in the community. Every time we drive by those folks up on Northampton Street and some of the same folks I've been driving by here on High Street, and they're still out there every season, every year, that's a failure of everyone in this room and everyone in the community. I was part of the group that helped to advocate for and establish a Department of Community Care in Northampton, and I intend to do the same thing here. I think that we all really need to take a good look at what's going on around us. If we say that we care about the people here, then we need to fill in the gaps. When we separate their families, when we leave veterans on the street with no resources to freeze, when we're disproportionately arresting black and
1
brown
minute.
citizens consistently and separating their families, we need to do something to support them. We need a department that's actually going to go in, work with families, support them after all these years of being torn apart. And it specifically impacts here, the Latinx community. We need that support and help. So I would ask that you all really think about what we're doing here. I know it's important to have a water commissioner and to establish the rules
We're getting out
and
of time.
whatever, but let's look at the city and help. Let's help these people. You know, I think we can all find common core values and leave our right and left politics behind to really make a change. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone online? Okay. Yep. What is it? Bill Iger? All right, go to the next one. Was it Nev? Nev Capone?
Yeah, hi, good evening. I'm Nancy. I just use my Nancy Caper, and I live at 72 Congress Avenue in Holyoke here. And I wanted to say, last week I almost wrote a letter to the MSB, whatever, the buildings people, because I don't feel comfortable with city councilors or the mayor or Aaron Burnell saying that organization is watching our public meetings and we can't voice any concern or dissent or any accounting questions about the building of a new school. That seems like you're telling folks that we have to forego the democratic process in order to hide what you're thinking or feeling from this organization outside of Boston. And so last week, I was like, I'm gonna write them a letter. Well, I'll give you a chance. I hear one more thing like that, I'm writing them a letter, right? Like, that sounds a little crazy. Not me. The analysis where we can't have a healthy public discourse. And along with that,
Add a minute.
I would like to, Ordinance 41, that is a complete, the proposal tonight is a complete, abrogation of democracy. And that's it. I'm done. Sorry to go over time. Have a nice evening.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Who's else? Aaron Burnell.
Good evening. I don't see myself on video, but I'm going to assume that you guys can hear me. My name is Erin Burnell. I live at 44 Norwood Terrace. I'm privileged to be a school committee member at large in the city of Holyoke and also the vice chair of the school building committee. Oh, seeing as I had the privilege to go after our last speaker, just for clarity's purposes, I mentioned that the commissioner was keeping an eye on happenings in Holyoke and in relation to receivership, not the MSBA. Of course, we're going through the democratic process. Everybody in the public can attend the the Holyoke School Building Committee meetings and public comment if they need to and ask questions if they need to. So we're doing our best to be as clear and open as possible. So with that being said, thank you for allowing me public comment this evening. I am on vacation, so I won't be staying for the full meeting. I just want to thank the Finance Subcommittee for bringing this feasibility study funding back to the full City Council. I will highly encourage you all to move this forward so that way we can begin to dig into the trenches of what the cost may be and what the plan may be for a potential new middle school
1 minute.
in the city of Holyoke. Thank you. So I just wanted to say that you may hear some people talk about the fact or the lack of a plan for the city. And I just want to say, while I'm empathetic towards that, I think it's high time that we put education as our top priority here in the city of Holyoke. You never know what might else come up in the city. You'll also hear some talk about the fact that
we're at time. Time to wrap up.
That's all right. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. I hope the council will pass this along tonight.
Right. Thank you. Anyone else? And what was it again? Bill Iger, if we're saying that correctly from what we see online. Oh. Yep, maybe. Okay. All right, so that ends public comment. On to communications.
Mr. President?
Yes, Councilor Bacon.
Motion to take up 4 and 5 as a package and suspend rules to ask a question of Attorney Degnan.
Sure. So a motion is to take up 4 and 5 as a package. All those in favor? Aye. All opposed? 4 is an opinion from the legal department on procedure to change charter, council approval appointees. 5 is also an opinion for a special act to change charter for appointments. Councilor Bacon has also asked that we allow legal to answer questions. So all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Councilor Bacon.
Thank you. So through the president to Attorney Degnan, Relative to the February 11th opinion where you note that you're seeking that a petition be submitted because it is being seen as ambiguous when the council voted to approve a home rule petition relative to the council confirming all new mayoral appointments. My question is, where would such a petition be drafted and how would such a petition be submitted? Because we have not previously done this for a home rule petition, to my knowledge.
Yes. Good evening, Councilor Bacon, and good evening, all the city councilors. Yeah, with respect to my opinion, I think that it could come from the council, perhaps with discussion from the legal department in terms of what the council might want to see. And I think that's important for the councilors to see the special act, the actual petition, just, to alleviate my worry that if there's a mistake in the petition and it gets sent to the legislature, we don't have to fix it again. So it could come from the mayor to the council. The council could actually request that an opinion be drafted, and law department could talk with whoever wanted to bring it forward would be fine.
So if I'm understanding you clearly, would you need to have an action by the council tonight to request legal to draft the petition for the home rule? Because in the past, when the council voted to approve the order out of charter and rules, then legal just drafted the petition and it was sent. So I'm just wanting to understand, because this is different and that's fine. Do we need to request tonight here at the chambers for legal to draft the petition to submit back to the council? Because I'll happily make that motion if that's helpful.
Well, and I understand your question, and the council could ask that, and legal could draft it, but because we've had a change of counselors, and that's why I attached the October 15th letter so the new councilors could see, but also it would need to be signed by the mayor, so it could be submitted to the legislature. And this is where I apologize for my confusion, because we have a new mayor now. So we would need to have the current mayor, agree. He doesn't have to bring it forward, but he'd have to sign it before it went to the legislature. That's the issue that I saw. And that's why I've indicated that I was confused. Perhaps I shouldn't have been, but I was. And I should have checked with council at the time, either yourself or Council President McGee. But that's the issue. If I drafted it, or the legal department drafted it, what you wanted, the mayor would have to agree before you could send it anywhere.
Thank you. So, Mr. President, if it's in order, I'd like to offer a motion that we ask legal to draft the petition for the home rule as was approved by the council in October of 2021.
Okay, so motion is to ask legal to draft a petition. Is there a second?
Second.
That was seconded. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those approved? Counselor, do you still have a question? I didn't know. Okay.
Thanks.
All right, so that was approved.
Thank you.
So that was 4 and 5. We're on to 6. 6 is from the city clerk and our city admin, which is February 1st, 2022's minutes. They've been reviewed. Any questions, amendments?
Make a motion to be received.
Motion
second
is to
that.
receive. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Seven is from Damian Cody, the building commissioner, a letter regarding property preservation group, 5-year report. Like to receive that and send it to, Councilor
Yeah,
Bartley,
we
sorry.
sent to DGR. I
To
think that's-
DGNR?
Yeah, we've been doing that for a few years.
Okay, so to DGNR. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? 8 is a list of 2021 elected officials' gross pay.
We take 8, suspend the rules and take 8, 9, and 10 together? We're all,
Motion is to take up 8,
Second.
9, and 10 as a package. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? 9 is a list of City of Hoyoke employees' pay and then school department pay. It looks like Counselor Bartley got a raise. Just here. No, just kidding. Just kidding. All right, so those would be received, sent to finance? All three?
I don't think you have to do that.
No,
Just
I wanna
receive them?
Just
Receive, I don't know, do we want to just post those on the website?
That's,
I think they were. I think
Oh, they were? Okay,
Yeah.
great.
we'll confirm that. So
Yes.
motion is just to receive those 8, 9, and 10. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? 11 is a communication from the Public Works vote to seek change to ordinance 201.
Motion to
ordinance?
receive and send to ordinance, and I just would like to make one comment, that in the communication, they're seeking to eliminate all of the educational requirements, and I would just respectfully suggest that we keep those, but we also put in language that allows a substitution of those for relevant experience, so that we aren't eliminating every educational aspect to a very important position in our city. So that would be my comment to that communication.
All right, so that to ordinance, all those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Just to follow up, because I just got the answer, 8, 9, and 10 are posted online.
Thank you.
Just like that, it was
Thank
already
you.
done for you, Kevin.
Wow. Mind readers
Speed,
around here.
speed.
Just the level of efficiency, it's awesome.
12 is the outreach meeting for February 18th. This would be
Motion
to
to receive and
ordinance.
send to ordinance.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Mr. President,
Yeah, Counselor Bartley.
I think you had a late file similar to that too. Why don't we just take that up and send that one as well?
I think it's
You are
correcting
correct.
an address or something, or a date.
I thought it was a late file about
B,
a,
yep. So late file B, motion to suspend rules, go out of order to B. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? This is a communication to the abutters with regards to the same address, so that would be to ordinance. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Thirteen is another outreach for February 28th, and this is for 420 Race Street. That would also
Even
go
send
to
to
ordinance.
ordinance.
Ordinance?
All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? 14 is from Wisteria-Hearst Museum regarding the office assistant reclassification from W2 to W7
Send to finance.
to finance. All those in favor?
aye.
All opposed? And no, that was 14, sorry. 15 is for petitions. This is a petition for a new marijuana establishment at 475 Canal Street.
Ordinance.
To ordinance, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? President's report, quickly. One, everyone, did they get the communication? Maybe you did or didn't, but we'll do it now. The Parking Advisory Board, the mayor has reached out. It is one at-large counselor and one ward counselor. Well, he's finalizing the list. That's why I didn't go out to you. I knew there was a hiccup there. So he's going to finalize the list as to who to be on it, but it is required that we have two, one at large and one ward. So if you want to volunteer for that, please let me know or reach out to Jeffrey and he will get it over to the mayor. Counselor Bartley.
I wouldn't mind volunteering for it myself.
All right, so Counselor Bartley is one,
Unless somebody else wants to, I'll defer.
and that would be the ward. Now we just need an at large. No pressure.
I can do it. I'll do it.
Okay.
All right.
Well, we've already filled it.
That's
Tell the
good.
mayor we are on.
There you
top of
go.
this.
Thanks for stepping up.
All right, so thank you both counselors. Also, as an update, Jeffrey has told me, because everyone's been asking about getting all the orders that are in committees in the jackets up online. So he is working on a Google Drive, and don't ask me, I'm not the professor at this stuff. I'm a tax attorney. And he's going to post everything online. And that's going to be towards the end of March, April. We're not going to put a set time from there. But it's all contingent on the committees. So he has, in a sense of, he'll have all the orders listed online as to each committee. And he has the ability to put a note on each as to the status. It was taken up on 2/15. It was tabled. It was referred here, what have you. So that way people can look up orders and see the current status of them. So he's in the process of that, and that will be done, but he is looking to the chairs of the committees to update on making sure all of them are in order. So please work with Jeffrey to finalize that, and like he said, towards the end of March, April, that should be ready for everyone. The interpreters are in today. They're back in-house. They're not via Zoom, so they are here. And lastly, to thank Jeffrey not only for that Google Drive, but as everyone noticed in the back room, all the things that he baked for you to have to eat. So thank you for that. Go above and beyond. That's very nice, and we do appreciate that.
Yes, we do.
With that,
Don't bring it back home, Jeff.
Thanks, Jeffrey.
with that, anything that anyone here I've missed or you've attended or something? Councilor Tallman.
Yeah, just before we go on, before we get to the committee reports, if we could suspend the rules and take up item 19B. Ms. Watson's here tonight. It's one of the appointments for the Valley Opportunity Council.
All right, so motion to go out of order to 19B. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? 19B, the Committee on Public Service was referred. An order from the mayor appointing Ms. Watson to serve on the Valley Opportunity Council. Term will expire December 31st, 2023. Motion would be to receive and confirm the appointment. Councilor Tallman.
Yes, thank you. Ms. Watson, it was down here. She's been on other boards in the city. She's a long-term worker at the G&E, a finance person. Sat down and we had a good talk with her. She explained why she wants to get involved. She wants to stay active in city government. She's got a lot of experience in the workings of city government. And I was really impressed when we had asked her if she could keep us up to date. Councilor Bartley asked if, a lot of times we don't hear from these groups, these boards after they leave, after we appoint them, to find out what's going on. And she said the next day she's looking forward to giving us, every couple of months, give us an update on what's going on. And often we forget about it, but she was really sincere in trying to come back. And I'm really happy that she stepped up, wants to stay involved. And as everybody read her resume, very, very, very good and very talented person that will be a big benefit to the Valley Opportunity Council, which deals with a lot of issues in Holyoke. So,
Councilor Vacan.
I would just like to support this appointment very strongly. She's a very dedicated community member, and we're lucky to have her.
very.
Anyone further? Councilor McGivern.
I would just add my support, Mr. President. Her legacy with the city of Holyoke is not just the gas and electric. She's been involved in so many different things, and she brings a lot to the table. And we're lucky to have her represent us for VOC.
Anyone further? I'll echo everything that everyone said. I've known Miss Watson for a long, long time, since I was a very small kid, and she looked at me today and said, "Keeps falling out up top, Todd." Yeah, thanks, Miss Watson. I understand. But anyways, no, seriously, she is a phenomenal person, and the work that she does for this city is it's very much appreciated. So thank you for everything. So motion is to confirm the appointment. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? So now we go.
Mr. President, if I could make a motion to go out of order and to take up item number 26.
26. Let me get there.
Second that.
Motion to go out of order to item 26. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Here to accept a donation of $10,000 from People's Banks and $1,000 from East Hampton Savings Bank to support the Lady Liberty War Monument. Councilor McGivern.
Thank you, Mr. President. As we were reminded at our last meeting, any monetary gifts given to the city have to come through the approval for the city council before they can be utilized. We have with us online our city engineer, Bob Parent, who's been involved with this project. Most of us remember this is a project that was first presented to us from the CPA. Lady Liberty is in dire need of some renovation work and some upkeeps to the statue itself. These donations will go towards that project, the $10,000 from People's and the $1,000 from East Hampton Savings Bank. Bob brought it to my attention this week that there are some time constraints on the project and some work that he has to do to get this going to be able to meet those time constraints. He respectfully asked us if we could pass this on the floor this evening. I said I would do my best, and I asked him to be present to answer any questions.
Counselor Jordan.
Yes. Just a friendly amendment to the order, if we could change it from Lady Liberty to Goddess of Victory. That is the official name of the statue, Goddess of Victory, when it was dedicated on July 4th, 1876. This statue has tremendous significance, historical to the city. I think this is a wonderful, wonderful order. I'm so thankful to People's Bank. I'm so thankful to East Hampton Savings Bank for doing this. I'm also very thankful. Certainly, I'm sure they're long forgotten. I, of course, have the names. Perhaps we should circulate them at the next meeting. But of the 57 Holyoakers who died in the Civil War that monument commemorates, their names should live forever in the glory that is the city of Holyoke. And I'm just so thankful that this is continued to remember. This is an iconic statue. It is so much about the history of this community, and I think we're well served by preserving its memory.
Counselor Anderson Burgos. Can you hear me? Or?
I think he's still muted.
Spider-Man.
You're still muted, Counselor Anderson Burgos.
Oh, I'm so sorry, and I started so good. Okay, so let me start again.
Time's up. We heard you.
You know when you're like, you think you're ahead of the race, and all of a sudden your feet feel like they're moving, but you haven't moved a bit. Okay, that's all right. Let's start again. So I will say this. First of all, I'm feeling better. Just wanted to state that for the record. Secondly, growing up in Holyoke, I used to walk by that statue, and it does. It really looks like a victory goddess. And I remember when I was a kid, I would read the names. And I was there recently, and you can't read the names. And let me tell you something. Those 57 men gave their lives. The least we can do is keep their names forever embedded into that statue of goddess. Like, it's so important for us to preserve that. It's the least we can do, because I'm going to tell you right now, saying thank you for your service is just not enough. And this is the step making it right. So I just wanted to state that for the record. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. Anyone further? Councilor McGivern.
Just real quick, just to add, I think we remembered CPA Mike Falsetti had led the charge in the at the committee level, and was also Mike who reached out to Peoples in East Hampton, and just wanted to give him a little bit of credit for a job well done.
Councilor Rivera.
I was going to echo what Councilor McGivern said. While on the CPA, I remember Mike being fighting very hard for this project, which is a very deserving project, and I'm kind of glad to see it come to fruition. But yeah, just wanted to add to that.
All right. So, seeing no one else, motion is to pass the first reading. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed?
Motion to pass the second reading.
Motion to pass the second reading. The clerk will call a roll. If you vote yes, you're voting to accept the donations.
Bacon?
Yes.
Anderson Burgos?
Yes.
Bartley?
Yes.
Givner?
Yes.
Jordan?
Yes.
Maldonado Velez?
Yes.
McGee?
Yes.
McGivern?
Yes.
Murphy Rumboletti?
Yes.
Puello?
Yes.
Israel Rivera?
Yes.
Jenny Rivera?
Yes.
Tolman?
Yes.
Unanimous vote.
With your vote, you approve that one. 17A, unless we're going out again. Nope, 17A. Committee on Finance, who was hereby requested to accept the fiscal 22 fireman equipment or firefighter equipment grant, $23,063, no match. Motion is to receive, adopt, pass the first reading. Councilor McGivern.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Finance Committee did meet. We had Chief Jeff Preskopowski before us. Jeff went through the grant, and there's a number of pieces of equipment that the fire department is going to be able to do with this no match grant for $23,063, including 6 cameras with thermal imaging, 6. There's one. The committee members can help me out because I know I I wrote it, but I just can't read it. But there's one piece of equipment in an exterminator.
I believe it's some kind of a washer for the equipment, the turnout gear. I believe there's
Okay,
some
I
kind of
apologize to
that
our
cleans
chief
yeah.
and the members,
Sort of like a machine that cleans out the
I think
the
a
smoke.
disinfector.
Yeah,
Thank
sort of,
you,
yeah. There you
Councilor
go.
Bacon. I knew you were there for a reason. I appreciate it.
Anything to.
But this is a grant that we get almost annual, and it's money that the fire department has not only put to good use, but equipment that we need. It's also to be noted that the fire department is current with all their grants and have done a great job of reconciling their grants over the past years. The committee recommends that we accept the grant and allow it to be spent and set up the necessary resources to oversee that.
Anyone further? Seeing none, motion is passed first reading. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Motion to pass the second reading.
Motion is passed the second reading. The clerk will call a roll. If you vote yes, you're voting for this grant.
Bacon,
Yes.
Anderson Burgos,
Yes.
Bartley,
Yes.
Givner,
Yes.
Jordan,
Yes.
Maldonado Velez,
Yes.
McGee,
Yes.
McGivern,
Yes.
Murphy,
Yes.
Murphy Ramboletti, Puello,
Yes.
Israel Rivera,
Yes.
Jenny Rivera,
Yes.
Tallman.
Yes.
Unanimous vote.
With your vote, you approve that one. 17B, Community on Finance, hereby accept the provisions of the Green Communities Municipal Energy Technology Assistance Program. $15,000. There's no match. Motion will be receive, adopt, pass first reading. Councilor McGivern.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Finance Committee met with Yoni, I always get Glogover, and Yoni, I'm sorry. But as always, Yoni came very prepared to talk about this, and we also had Whitney Anderson with us as the business manager, school building manager of the schools. And this is a Dean Technical Award. The money is to be used at the school. It's again, no match. The Green Technical Energy Grant itself, the award will be used to further study and design specifications for a water source heat pumps at the Dean Technical School. Whitney, Yoni explained how we got the grant, and he did the bulwark, and Whitney gave him that credit, and Whitney also explained the need at the school, which is a tremendous asset to be able to change the source of the water heat pumps and to do the corrective work at Dean School. The committee recommends that we allow the acceptance of the grant and set up the necessary resources to oversee it.
Seeing no one further, motion is passed first reading. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed?
Motion to pass the second reading.
Motion is passed the second reading. The clerk will call a roll. If you vote yes, you're voting for that one.
Bacon,
Yes.
Anderson Burgos,
Yes.
Bartley,
Yes.
Givner,
Yes.
Jordan,
Yes.
Maldonado Velez,
Yes.
McGee,
Yes.
McGivern,
Yes.
Murphy Ramboletti,
Yes.
Puello,
Yes.
Israel Rivera,
Yes.
Jenny Rivera,
Yes.
Tallman.
Yes.
Unanimous vote.
With your vote, you approve that one. 17C, Community on Finance, hereby accept the veteran grant for $15,000 with a 50% match. Motion is to receive, adopt, pass first reading. Councilor McGivern.
Thank you, Mr. President. President, we had Jesus Pereira from the Veterans and Penny Martrola from Wisteria Hearst on the Veterans Heritage Grant itself. This is a grant that would, in conjunction between both departments, would allow the, excuse me, I changed my mask. I thought they said you could speak better with these things that were over there, and it just doesn't work. But this is a grant that goes, matching funds will come from the Hoyle Cultural Center, $2,250. The Wisteria Hearst Foundation, which I call the Friends of Wisteria Hearst, $5,000, and in-kind hours from both our project coordinator and Veteran Services collaborator, Jesus. So the match is covered fairly well, And the whole idea is that this match would be used to enhance the, at Wisteria-Hearst, I'm sorry, I'm reading some things that I didn't see before. But just, the project would be at Wisteria-Hearst, and the grant itself would be spent there. The committee asked that we accept the grant and allow both departments to work on the project itself.
Anyone further? Seeing no one, motion is to pass the first reading. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed?
Motion to pass the second reading?
Motion is passed the second reading. The clerk will call a roll. If you vote yes, you're voting for 17C.
Bacon?
Yes.
Anderson Burgos?
Yes.
Bartley?
Yes.
Givner?
Yes.
Jordan?
Yes.
Maldonado Velez?
Yes.
McGee?
Yes.
McGivern?
Yes.
Murphy Ramboletti?
Yes.
Coelho?
Yes.
Israel Rivera?
Yes.
Jenny Rivera?
Yes.
Tallman?
Yes.
Unanimous vote.
With your vote, you approve that one. 17D, Committee on Finance, was referred in order. The Hoyoke Sheer Valley Bike Administration amount of $9,610 to be paid to the TNC Rideshare Receipt appropriate funds for number 2601. Motion is receive, adopt, pass the first reading. Councilor McGivern.
Thank you, Mr. President. I believe that the vote itself was 4-1.
Yes.
This is a request, a transfer request, that we pay the administrative costs that we owe to be part of the Valley Bike Administration. The lead city, there are several communities, not just Hoyoke, but the lead community is Northampton. Northampton takes on the responsibilities of a lot of the administrative work for the project itself. The request here is that the annual share, which is $9,610, be paid from the TNC ridership receipts, which we learned are on the increase. I think it's our third year of getting these receipts, which are a big part of it are funds that come in from Lyft and Uber operators and money that comes in, funneled in through the state itself. The question, the committee is, and I think everybody is in favor of, we see a lot of use of this project. There's a lot of bikes, not just in the warmer months, but even throughout the colder months, that are still being used within the city. It's a good project from that point of view. I questioned, why are we using rideshare receipts to pay for a project that essentially has a company that has as a stake as a for-profit company in the project itself. I know a lot of the administrative costs are the city's responsibility to be part of this program, but I think if someone's going to be making a profit out of it, we should be sharing some of that profit to pay off the administrative costs and to pay off the overhead cost of the program itself. But the committee sees it different. They voted 4-1 in favor of adopting this transfer.
Councilor Jordan.
Yes, Mr. President. I thank the chairman for his report. My main thing on this was I had no problem spending the $9,600, provided that it was providing a great public service to the citizens of the community. So we asked for and received some good statistical analysis. By the way, that'll be a standing theme on the next item. And when we had a report, we found out that over 11,000 bike trips originated from the city of Hoyoke, and over 14,000 bikes made a trip to the city, that there are over 800 Hoyoke citizens self-identified as using the bike program. So when you look at all of that, it's really wonderful that, and I think we're getting a great ROI on the bike share program, and the citizens seem to be enjoying it and really using it. And what better use could we think of $9,600 than to make this many people happy and supporting a worthy cause of having alternate transportation for people who really enjoy the Valley Bike program. So To me, it's being heavily used, and they've backed it up with the statistics to show that. So I really appreciate it, and I'm happy to support it.
Anyone further? Councilor Tallman.
Yeah, it's a great program. I've seen several people utilizing these bikes throughout the city, and it's very helpful for people from South Holyoke to up towards the college, the Highlands. People utilize this, and it's a great benefit to the community. And the cost, I understand the cost. We had some concerns about the $9,000, but the money is basically coming in from the rideshare program from the state. So, I mean, we're still ahead of the game by the money coming in from the state from Lyft and Uber. It'd be nice to use that money that basically says you can use it for, street work and street sense or whatever they call it, to make improvements in the road. So this is definitely a benefit for the community, and it is well used, and hopefully we can continue with that. And the report was great that they sent us. It really detailed everything that is used from the number of bikes, the number of trips, and to where the bikes are mostly used out of. So it was very, very helpful getting that report.
Councilor Bacon.
Thank you, Mr. President. I will support this, but I hope the rest of the money is used to fix all the potholes, which are getting really bad. Thank you.
Councilor McGivern.
Quickly, I don't dispute any of the points that have just been made, and like I said, it is a great program. I just dispute that there is a company making a profit and we're not getting something back on that. It makes no sense to me that we could be using all of the TNC money for potholes.
All right, so seeing no one else, motion is to pass the first reading. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed?
Motion to pass the second reading.
Motion is passed the second reading. The clerk will call a roll. If you vote yes, you're voting for the payment.
Bacon?
Yes.
Anderson Burgos?
Yes.
Bartley?
Yes.
Givner?
Yes.
Jordan?
Yes.
Maldonado Velez?
Yes.
McGee?
Yes.
McGivern?
Yes.
Murphy Ramboletti?
Yes.
Coelho?
Yes.
Israel Rivera?
Yes.
Jenny Rivera?
Yes.
Tallman?
Yes.
Unanimous vote.
All right, your vote, you approve that one. 17E, Command and Finance was referred in order that the sum of $475,000 is appropriated to pay the cost for the new middle school design phase and the payment of all costs related to. This is recommended that be adopted. So motion be receive, adopt, pass the first reading. Councilor McGivern.
We can make a motion to suspend the rules and to also take up late filed F.
Late file F. Motion to suspend the rules, take up late file F. Is there a second?
Second.
All those
Second.
in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? F is from Councilor McGivern. This is the order that we appropriate $475,000 for the purpose of paying for the cost of the feasibility study for the William R. Peck Middle School. And this is the information from the treasurer and the bonding for it. So with that, Councilor McGivern.
Thank you, Mr. President. With first an explanation. Late filed F is, if you look at the language on the original order, it was filed when the auditor, then Mayor Murphy, were under the impression that the MSBA was not in position to reimburse the city for the feasibility study of a new middle school project. This has been brought to our attention through our discussions with the school building committee and our superintendent receiver and others, that this could be changing, where it's possible, if the MSBA does allow the city of Holyoke into the cycle to be considered for a middle school project, they will look at the reimbursement itself, for the feasibility study. The late filed order, the difference between that and the original order is language pretty standard for when the mayor proposes a bond and the city council reviews the bond and agrees or disagrees with it. The difference is the MSBA has some additional language that they require to be considered as a reimbursable project itself, and it's essentially just to say, the city, what part of the city and what steps the city took in terms of getting to a point of requesting to be part of the cycle for the feasibility study. It was brought to my attention that there's a Scribner error in this language that we just received. And I think it's line 6, where it says in which the MSBA set amount to be expended under the direction of the school committee. The MSBA requires, state law requires, that there's a school building committee, which we know we did have. The school building committee is the not just members of the school committee, but people from the school department. People said different city councilors served on it over the last 2 years. A couple mayors have been part of it. Superintendent, members of the administration of the school department, teachers, parents, and so on. And they've worked very hard on this project. But the MSBA, we have to tell the MSBA that there was a school building committee in writing and according to our vote itself, or I guess that's at least the way it was explained to me. Mr. President, I just want to ask, because I just got the copy of the late file today. Is there a signature from the mayor on that?
Not on my copy. I don't know if you have the same copy.
No.
Yeah. Before we get into a very long, drawn-out discussion on this
one?
Not a debate, discussion, I suggest that we might have a shortcoming here.
So we do have one. Second.
You do have that?
Yep.
By Mayor Garcia?
Yep.
Okay.
That's yours, yes.
So do we have a copy of what you have? Because mine says Terry Murphy, item F.
So this is the second page. Do they have the second page? So you don't have a copy, but I have the copy of the mayor's signature.
Is that wording the same as this wording? Or has there been changes?
Same.
Same. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. President. If we have the signature of the mayor, the Scribner error, I think is understood. I just would suggest that we go forward. Is that the wish of the president?
So E, do you want to give leave to withdraw or refer back to the auditor? How? What's
yeah, F is a replacement. It's, the numbers are identical. It's as I explained,
it's the language
for the MSBA requires as part of the vote to be considered as the project, to be considered more important for reimbursement. So I would make that motion if you want to make that up.
So motion is to give 17E leave to withdraw, or
and to replace it with the late filed F.
Replace it with the late file F. All those in
Second.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed?
Aye.
All right, so we're on F, which everyone should have a copy. I confirm that the mayor signed it, and I read it, and it's in compliance. So the motion would be receive, adopt, pass the first reading, and since it's a late file, to give final action. So put it all in there. Is there a second to that?
Second.
Under discussion, Councilman McGivern, anything else?
Thank you, Mr. President. The Finance Committee met for the third time, this time a very important third discussion on this project. Just a reminder to everybody, the School Building Committee has met on this for close to 2 years after a project that was intended for the same purposes, but as we all know, failed to pass about 3 years ago, 2 years ago on the ballot. The school building committee put forward a proposal, as we know, for one middle school with a proposal that goes far further than just building one school. The purpose is to get middle school students out of the elementary schools. The purpose is to consolidate the elementary schools that are left to take perhaps two plus offline and consolidate those elementary schools, which, as we know, would have a savings in overhead costs, have a savings in salaries for administrators, and would make it much more efficient, I think, for budgeting for elementary school purposes. Not to mention that we've, over the years through these processes, I've sat on a building school committee, and I'm sure other counselors have too. We know through inventory that our aging school buildings are in need of a lot of repair. We have not built a school in the city of Holyoke since the Dean Vocational was built back in the 80s. We did receive a project through the MSBA to do an addition and to do some very needed renovations to the high school. There's two sides of these stories in terms of the age and need of our buildings. One is the city of Holyoke does a fantastic job of keeping their school buildings in good shape. And I give a lot of tribute to, I'm going to say, the Board of Aldermen at one time when a former Alderman, City Councilor Ray Fair, proposed, and the mayor and the City Council, Board of Aldermen agreed to take the ownership or management ownership of the buildings away from the DPW and give them to the schools, and to let the individual schools' principals be responsible for a budget for building maintenance and building repairs and cost of operations. And that was a fantastic move that Councilor Fair had proposed many years ago, and I think it paid off in triplicate. We met with the members from the school building committee. We met with the superintendent, receiver, Anthony Soto, a number of people, but most important, in the third meeting, we met with Cinder McNeary, who is been our longtime financial advisor, connected with Bond Council, vice president of Hilltop Securities, and just a wonderful woman professional to listen to. And she answered a lot of questions from the committee. But what we were looking for were answers. I think, and I don't want to rehash everything and take up all the time here, because we have a split decision on the finance. The vote was 3-2 in favor of passing the bond. The arguments against passing are valid. They are legitimate arguments, and I'll talk to them a little bit in my own recommendation of how I'm going to vote. But for the purpose of the committee, I just want everyone to know before we take our vote tonight that all the thoughts and all of the arguments that are going to be presented this evening have merit to them and need to be thought about before we do this. What we know is that the project itself will be one school at what is the Peck School itself, one of the schools that will be taken offline, but it would be built, the new middle school is proposed to be built there. It's for 550 students. The design right now is high-tech, but there's a possibility that they can go to a design template that is used throughout, and could be some more savings if the MSBA were to allow it, but that's down the road and needs to be looked at. The 550 kids is only half of what is our projected middle school population in 2 years. We know the original proposal was for one school for 1,100 kids. That began about 5 years ago. That original proposal then split into two schools, about 550 kids per school, it sounded like the sole purpose of separating 1,100 middle school children from one particular facility, and that it might be a better way to manage and control the education that they would receive. Regardless, those projects failed. This is a project that answers the need we have to do something with our school building inventories. Education is an obligation of all communities to offer in the best way they can to the students of the community itself, and to allow them that equal opportunity to get the best education they possibly can. The system in place now is not working. I'm not talking about receivership. I'm talking about the design of schools and the way they are no longer efficient. The history of our schools are certainly a legacy to the school department itself. But when we had some outside superintendents brought to the city of Holyoke, that was the beginning of what became, to me, was tragedy in our school system and the loss of what we had. I'm not going to mention them by names, but one superintendent proposed to put the middle school and go to a K through 8 model. And there was support, but the support, I think, was didn't last long after the changes took place. I'm talking 10, 12, 15 years ago, but that's something that should be remembered. The cost of the school is the big issue, I think. I think most of us have heard the proposal, asked questions, been given answers, and the cost of the school is what's before us tonight. We have to, and the process I call backwards, and some people correct me because they say it's the process. It is the process, and I get it. But in order to be considered by the MSBA, we have to do a feasibility study. The building committee itself, with their superintendent and the mayor, have proposed that they will keep the same project manager and keep a lot of the design that's already been paid for, which is the savings. The request for up to the $475,000 is the additional work needed to redesign those two projects into this one project itself, and the location being at Peck School. It includes projects that have to take place, like a traffic study, other environmental studies and things that need to be done. It includes everything from A to Z in terms of what a good project should be done in a feasibility phase. If we vote to go ahead, it does not mean we're going to use the full $475,000. It's up to. And it can only be spent on this one project the way that it's being proposed to us here. The Cinder, talked a lot about our depth obligation, and she pointed out that the depth obligation, there are bonds that are coming off, there are bonds that are maturing, and that there is a capacity. But she said it point blank. It's up to the city to determine when it's time to make the final vote. And that's the difference, I think, where I have with some other members of the committee. The final vote is, once the project is designed, we vote on what the formula the MSBA uses to reimburse us, and what's left over is what we have to borrow or to pay for. We don't have to borrow, but if we do bond, we need to keep that in mind. There's no obligation if you vote in favor of going forward for the feasibility study to vote on the final vote. And I'll point that out very clearly. When Alex Morse was mayor and he put the middle school project before us, he linked everything to an override, which many of us were not happy about. During that process, we also learned that over the last 12 years, the MSBA, under a mandate of the auditor, the state auditor, Danucci, had to come up with a formula that would rectify what was an open checkbook process, where communities would just put forward, we're going to build this school here, and once they got into the cycle with the MSBA, they eventually got 90% reimbursement for everything that qualified, which is pretty much what they put in front of them. I get that, and I understand the MSBA is just doing their job, but the good news is the DGR committee met with our state delegation a week before, both Representative Pat Duffy and our Senator John Vilas, and we talked a lot about this. We talked a lot about gateway communities, even communities that are on the fringe, not gateway, but not the elite suburbs of the Commonwealth itself. And we talked about Chapter 70 monies. The formula for Chapter 70s is designed and favors the communities by their per capita income. When you're a community, a gateway community, being like us, Lawrence, Lynn, Springfield, we get a different amount through the formula of Chapter 70s to pay for schools, because we have a higher low-income population itself. And they're proposing to the legislature that the formula for the MSBA should use that argument, that language, and that the formula should be changed. Now, there's no guarantees they're going to change the formula, but I think they were very successful. And then, when the language more recently was changed for Chapter 70 monies, our own state rep, Aaron Vega, was right in the mix of that and did a great job for the state, I think, not just for the communities. And it's a simple argument, is Holyoke and all gateway communities, we don't create poverty. Poverty comes to us. We service poverty, and we do a pretty good job at it. But in doing so, the cost of schools and services that the city has to provide should not be just on the back of taxpayers within the city of Holyoke. That burden should be shared by the entire Commonwealth. Thus, we have Chapter 70 monies that come into the formula that favors us, and our argument is that the MSBA, more important, the legislature, needs to take a good look at that and change it. So if we have any chance of staying in the cycle, we need to take the next step, which is to approve this bond, which allows the feasibility study to go forward. The feasibility study goes forward. We now can work with the legislature, with the MSBA, as the project is being finalized for design itself. If it gets to a point where the MSBA approves it, we don't like the percentage or the formula that is used in terms of what we have to borrow, we have to make a determination. And this is what I was saying a minute ago, and I'm going to stop because I'm talking way too much. But the argument that if we can't afford to do the full project, why would we want to spend $475,000? It's a valid argument. I thought the same thing and struggled with it 3 years ago when we had the project before us. I did not vote, and I was not going to vote, even if the override passed. And when I walked into Metcalf School, I voted against the override because it was wrong. And I was not going to vote for the bond if the formula didn't change. Okay, and those numbers are much different. It was being a double-sized project to this, but at the same time, we have something in front of us that is in an area where affordability is possible with help. There are things that have been promised, things that we need to look at, and I hope the legislature is part of the answer. But I do know our schools are in tough shape. And this isn't just about building one school. This is a plan that's been well thought out, been put on the table for 5 years now, and it would make a big difference to not just the students, but a big difference to the teachers and to the parents of the students if we could do something that would consolidate elementary schools and build something that we need desperately. The committee vote was 3-2 in favor of passing it this evening. Mr. President, as you know, it's all bonds are a 2/3 vote. We need 9 of the 13 members to pass this evening. Thank you, and I appreciate everybody listening to me.
Anyone further? Counselor Dane.
Well, first of all, I thought the chairman did a very fine job with that committee report. I think he did a very nice summary. I also respect what a great job he did running the meeting, and I know that's not easy to gather up all the information as best as he could. So I want to thank Joe very much for a fine job trying to get to the bottom of this. Here's the problem. Again, I think we're rushing this. We're voting by emotion. I want a school. Schools are priority. This is wonderful. It's like, again, you go onto the car lot. Car salesman says, "Boy, you look great in that car." Well, how much does it cost? Well, you look just fantastic in that car. We got to talk the numbers. And the thing that concerns me here is more financial analysis was done on the Valley Bike program for $9,600 than a bond proposal and a request for $500,000, which is, by the way, the non-refundable deposit on that, for $74 million. So you would say, well, of course your city would do a financial analysis to see if you could actually afford this, right? I mean, you wouldn't vote to spend that kind of money unless you did your homework and analysis, right? In Holyoke, yes, you do. So of course, at finance, I say, well, give me the projection, give me the analysis. Oh, it's right here. Yeah, here you go. Okay, let me look at your projection. One, it's dated January 27th, 2021. That's over a year ago. Number two is, it says, well, if for the next 30 years, all your revenue remains the same or more, then that's okay. So let's question that assumption, and I will in a moment. Number two, it says that as long as you don't bond anything else in the next 30 years for capital, this tells you what it's all, everything that comes off. Well, what about the parts that go on? When was the last time in 30 years we didn't bond for any capital? All right, that we had no projects in 30 years in the city. That's never happened. So I start talking to Cinder, and I start saying, I start questioning her, as I, like to do. And at the end of the day, you get, well, counselor, that's not what they asked me to do. They just asked me to show, what's the debt service coming off, nothing that's going on. Okay, so bottom line is no financial analysis was done. Second point, yes, it is true that we need this as an entry-level thing in order to have our application go forward. The deadline is April 29th, not February 15th, April 29th. So the bottom line is, we could do the financial analysis, we just choose not to do the financial analysis. So either we don't care or we're afraid what it's going to say. I tend to think we're in the latter camp because I think we do care. I'm not going to ascribe that level of negligence. I think we don't want to know what it's going to say because, one, it requires us to actually get into some really thorny problems. One, we have a lot of needs, i.e. CSO, i.e. water filtration, streets, parks, on a sundry of things that this community needs. We need to do some assumptions on other future capital. We, at a minimum, could have taken an average over the last 30 years and put that into the model of what you actually had done. That wasn't done. $39 million, if all of their projections are accurate, is what we're going to have to pay, $1.3 million for the next 30 years. That's a big commitment. And I don't see how anybody can vote for that in good conscience when you don't know if this community can afford it. And let me take it one step further. Why would you agree to make a non-refundable deposit on a mortgage of a home you can't or don't know you can afford to pay? Because that's what you're doing today. This $475 is gone. You pay it, it doesn't come back. And you don't know if you can afford the bond. So this whole notion of, well, this is just money and, the big vote will be some point date in the future. If you vote no on that, you know this $500,000 is gone. Just so everybody understands that up front. I believe the proper approach to addressing city finances, the correct approach that looks out for citizens, do homework first, then take action. Not take action and then maybe do homework at a future date. People don't work like that in the real world. But here, we do, and we think it's normal. And then when people start asking those questions, well, education's a priority, and we just got to fix it, and, la, 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 and you get all this just noise. Benevolent noise, albeit well-intentioned, but we can't run cities like that. That's why we're in the predicament we are. The fact of the matter is, we have serious capital needs. We have a tax levy, which I suggest to you will not continue to grow at the rate that it's growing unless we're going to just absolutely tax the citizens into oblivion. So then the question becomes, are we going to create a scenario where, oh no, this project won't create an override, but we'll so strap the liquidity of the city that now will create a needed override for police and fire and other services in the community. So then we're asking for an override on that. That's not the way Holyoke families run their budgets, and that's not the way the city government should run its budget. People in this community are hurting from the tax bills that they're seeing in this community. The reality is, these schools were taken over by the state. The type of reimbursement that's being talked about here, somewhere in the range of 58 to 60%, is insufficient. It's going to be a real stretch for us to do that. We need the state to once and for all come in here with real money. If they think these schools are a problem, you're in charge. You wanted to take this over. You had a hostile takeover. You were proud of the fact that this was the only hostile takeover in Massachusetts history of a school district. So put your money where your mouth is. Don't lecture us, lecture yourself. You're in control, you hold all the money, and the state is flush with cash. They have record revenues. We're tapped out. We're absolutely busted broke. And if anybody doesn't think so, let me tell you something. You're going to find out real soon just how broke we are. You know, just as a one example, I asked the other day of the assessors, how much money, if you added up all the marijuana valuation that has come into this community? They said $9 million is the total valuation of all marijuana. Because, of course, this is where they go when they say, oh, yeah, it's all turning around. Don't you worry, counselor, it's all turning around. 9 million, right? Okay, so that at $40 a thousand generates $360,000 a year in revenue. The mall alone's value has gone down $55 million, 6x of all the marijuana that has come in, and that's just round one of the Holyoke Mall valuation drop. Think that's a problem? Well, the mall used to pay $8 million in taxes. Doesn't pay $8 million anymore. Is that in the projection? Tax revenue going down from the mall? Wait until they're about $100 million and they lose another $2 million. How about all the stuff that keeps getting tax exempt? I listed at 4 properties that went tax exempt recently. Big properties, big taxes. We're not collecting. This property tax system doesn't work. It doesn't work for the residents of this community. We have high social need, and we have the poorest residents in the Commonwealth with the highest tax burden in the Commonwealth. And we're going to say to you, hey, yeah, I know your bills are the highest and I know your pay is the lowest, but I just need 39 million more. Don't sweat it. Don't you love kids? Of course you love kids. I don't mind paying more taxes. They mind paying more taxes, and 65% of them said so 2 years ago. And by the way, I think if that vote was taken, it'd be a heck of a lot higher than 65% today. Bottom line is, I just want a transparent process. I want one that levels with the people of Holyoke. Putting a financial analysis out there that says what reality is speaks to, can we afford this or not? That's all I'm asking for. Be transparent with the people. Put out there that we can or cannot afford it. Then they can be the judge whether their counselors are looking out for them. If not, okay, they vote us out. If they think, yeah, Jordan, you're wrong, we'll vote you out. Okay, no problem. I have other things to do on Tuesday night. But as long as I'm sitting here in this chair, I'm going to look out for the taxpayer, and I'm going to make sure that we act and operate in an appropriate manner. And that tells me I do financial analysis first, not I'll get back to you. And that's what needs to take place here. That's why I couldn't vote for this at this time. If they do that, and we have time before the April 29th deadline, I'm willing to open this up to other discussions. I'm willing to be open-minded to have a yes vote on this, because I suppose there's one way we could look at it. If the state won't fund it, and we say, go ahead, spend all the money anyways, even if we don't have it, Well, at least we're making a decision to spend money we don't have, right? That is a decision you could make. That's an option. Maybe it's a good option. Maybe we just say, we need these things. You won't give it to them. Let's just spend the money whether we have it or not, drive the city into receivership, and then force them to bail us out. Maybe that's the only way Holyoke gets its money. Because when we make decisions like this, that's effectively what we're doing. Thank you.
Councilor Puello.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just want to thank Chairman McGivern and my colleagues, Councilor Tallman, Councilor Burgos, Councilor Jordan. It was a good debate. I think we talked about a lot of good information. I think Councilor Jordan's right on this, and we heard it today during public comment. What gets me the most is that this isn't due until April. So if it's not due until April, then what's the rush to get this out and not do our work and make sure that all these financial questions that are coming up are answered and taken care of? I mean, it really doesn't make much sense to me. And if there was a repercussion to tabling this, I would vote yes for it tonight. I really would. But there's no repercussion, and it's not due until 2 months from now. It's not due till April. So it just doesn't make any sense to me on why we would do that. And I think the proper way to handle it is having that financial analysis to put all these questions to rest, because again, the deadline's not for 2 months. If there's additional properties that are coming on, like the geriatric or anything else that's going to generate revenue for the city, then put that in a projection. Have it be official. If there's something like the mall that's not there, put that in the projections. Have a real assessment so that everybody knows what the numbers are, what's coming online, what's coming offline, and what we know, because we understand that the debt ceiling's it's staying the same. It's 118, it's at 79 now, and this adds 31 million to the debt. That puts us really, really close to that 118. I don't think it's unreasonable to say, hey, if this isn't due for another 2 months, why can't we do the simple assessment that Cinder says takes 30 minutes? I think that's a very reasonable thing. Thank you.
Councilor Anderson Burgos.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so I promise you I will not take an hour and a half. You've already heard how I feel about this. But I'm not going to sit there and discredit people's feelings. Oh, but the children, like downplaying it as if that doesn't matter. And the condescending tone says a lot. You can speak in a way to make people understand, but you don't. You speak in a way to push people away, to separate people. So I'm going to tell you and make this short for everyone. I am voting yes because the feasibility study needs to happen so we can see what's in front of us. We've been over this before, and if the counselor recalls, about 7 years ago when the feasibility came out, he voted yes for it that time. And now he wants to say no. He voted yes back then because what? He knew he was retiring? Anyways, listen, I'm sorry. I'm not trying to point you out. I really ain't. I'm just recovering from surgery, and I really just want to see this pass. We need to just vote yes. We need to vote yes, come together, vote yes, and that's it. Sorry.
Councilor Bacon.
Thank you, Mr. President. So I'd like to add some information into the discussion. I've had correspondence with our city auditor, who has informed me that she is currently working on a financial forecast that she believes she can complete in a few weeks. I believe that our city auditor, along with our mayor and the other financial people in the city, along with our bond counsel, if provided with the details, which I believe are also available within each department, to look at both projected revenues and the, in some cases, well-known capital needs, that this forecast can be put together in a way that we can look at and make an informed decision on this matter. If I am forced to a vote tonight, I will vote no. I will not vote to spend $500,000 with no financial forecast. It has been stated to us repeatedly that this has been worked on for 5 years. Well, then dust off your old financial analysis and forecast bring it up to date, and put it out in the public. I hear the word transparency all the time, but I'm hearing the word, but I'm not seeing the transparency. So again, we have the information, we have the ability to analyze it before we vote. We don't have to vote and then find the information. So far, we've had November, December, and January. If this is the top priority in our city, which I've heard a number of people say, well, we've had 3 months. If it is the number one priority, I'd hate to see what's happening with all the things that aren't if we can't do this. Thank you.
Councilor Murphy-Ramaletti.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just feel like it's necessary to remind folks that while I can appreciate and respect and agree with the need for financial planning, this is not an ask for $35 million tonight, and so I just want to make that really clear again. We are going to need to take further action at some point, but I've been watching the council debates at the Finance Committee meeting, and I am thankful that Councilor McGivern mentioned the DGR meeting, because that was also really good news to hear from our state delegation. And as a public school graduate, as a someone who I haven't been on the council for 20 years, but I have been living in this city and going through the schools and not seeing any action from counselors on this issue, and the powers that be. And so, I did go door knocking, full disclosure, I did go door knocking for the proposal in 2019, talked to a lot of people in this city who were understandably opposed to 2 new middle schools. But what I heard from a lot of them is that they'd be really, really supportive of 1 middle school. Approving a feasibility study will get us there to better understand what that looks like. And I just think it's time that we make a decision on this, and I'll be voting yes.
Councilor Rivera.
I think for me, the first thing I want to say is it's unfortunate that kids don't pay taxes, because then some counselors would represent kids too as well, right? This is past emotions, right? People bring up emotions, but a lot of what I'm hearing, or what I've been hearing for the last 20 minutes, is emotions too as well. It may be looking different, they may be representing taxpayers, it's tax base, it's still emotional, it's still something that you're passionate about, it's still something that's coming from the insides of your innards, and something that you really feel good about, whatever. It's crazy to say that people that want to have equal access to an education where they feel comfortable and they feel good in a good space, where they feel valued, right? It's a lot to ask for, right, for me. And I say this because, like, attending UMass, when I first went to UMass and transferring from HCC, it was a surreal moment, right? Like, you see UMass, it's huge, right? Coming from Holy Community College, coming from Holy Public Schools, and you look at UMass and you're like, wow, all this high-tech, cool gear, all this awesome stuff. I didn't miss no classes. I literally went to class all the time. I felt super bougie, right? At the end of the day, this comes along with the feeling of being in a space where you're appreciated, and you know for a fact that you're going to be able to do the stuff that you want to do because you have access to the stuff that you need to do what you need to do, right? In a sense, that's what we're trying to do for our middle schools, which we should be doing for all of our kids overall. That's one of the issues I have, right? We'll have 550 kids will be able to have access to this, and then the rest of the kids won't. That's an issue that I have. That's more of an issue to me than the $475,000, to be honest. Because community's first to me, people are first to me. Money, obviously money makes the world go round in the society we live in, especially in the capitalistic society we live in right now. But it sucks because this is a result of kicking the can down the road for so long, right? I remember when I was like in 3rd grade, there was a middle school vote that got overridden. I think teachers walked out of my classrooms when I was a kid, right? this is not something that has been, this is something that has been going on for years. And if you continue to push it down and continue to push it down, costs will continue to go up. The money that is going to cost us to be able to fix any schools or even do any improvements, forget building a new school, just doing improvements is going to cost us way more money the more you push it down the road. I'm going to be voting yes, mostly because the people that we have assigned to do the numbers, Cinder McCready, Anthony Soto, and with regards to some of the other people that have been involved in the project, to me, the idea, and mostly because I'm a student of public administration right now at Westfield State, it's like, if you are assigning someone with a job, it's for us to kind of trust that they do their job at the same time. I'm not saying to not ask any questions. The questions are awesome and great. You can ask the questions, but when they give you a result or an answer, that's technically the answer. And if you're going to ask questions to try to get around it and ask questions that you know that they kind of technically can't answer, then what are we doing then? Are we allowing them to do their job, or are we just setting them up in a place to fail? Because that's not what I want to do for us as a city government, for the people that we hire and put in positions or people that we contract with. And lastly, I'll say, just the other day, not too long ago, we made a transfer for almost $400,000, right, to the police department, which was, according to them, extra money that they had to reallocate for something else or something different. Nobody voted no on it. But here, for some reason, everybody wants to be conservative for this $475,000. There was $400,000 that we had somewhere. Just saying.
Councilor Bacon.
Thank you. I'll be brief. I just want to point out that the vote that we took on the police department budget was a transfer within the budget. That is a completely different matter than what is on the table before us now. And I would just also want to say for the record, Councilor Rivera went to a much different UMass than I did, because when I went to UMass, I was in a lab that was literally falling down. It was so old and so decrepit. And the library that they built had things all around it because the bricks were falling out of it. So I'm just here to say that the outcome of your education does not depend upon the look of your building. We have children that went to the Catholic schools, and most of those in our community are very plain. They're not pretty. They're not high tech, but they didn't lose a year of school either. So I'm not going to say that it's not important to build a school, but I will say when we bought our house, we made sure we had the down payment, and we made sure that we were like 90%, other than something catastrophic happening, that we could make the mortgage. For us to be asking that of our departments is only common sense. It's not extreme. And for us to be given a year-old analysis like, here you go, there it is. If you don't like the answer, vote yes anyway. Give me some more new information, because that's old information and it doesn't account for anything real that we're going to have to deal with. And I want to see what is the real deal. Thank you.
Councilor Puello.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just very quickly, I did just want to echo Councilor Bacon's comments, because I did vote for the police transfers, and they weren't bonds, they weren't loans, they were just the same money that the police already had, and we were moving it from one line item to the other line item. And the second thing I want to say, just very quickly, I don't think anybody's against 2 new schools. I think I would take 5 schools if we could. I think what people were against was the override. And if this causes an override, I think that's going to be a big, big problem. Thank you.
Councilor Jordan.
Yes, couple points. One was there was an allusion to a prior vote relative to the feasibility study. Couple points about that. One, that was years ago. City's finances were what they were then compared to now. Number one, they were in better shape than they are today. Number two, the state paid 80% of that feasibility study, which was half the cost of what this is going to be. So no one's against looking into these things, assuming we do financial analysis and that we can afford it. Again, we have to look the public in the eye and say we are not going to cause a financial loss to the community of other important city services too. They like police, they like DPW, they like the fire department, all the other departments. And to cause potentially a shortfall in these areas in order to cover this bond payment is something that we need to be prepared to answer. That information is not before us. So that point, I think, needed to be made. As far as the emotional piece of it, I think the part of why I bring that up is, again, as the father of 3 children, 2 of which are still in the Hoyoke Public Schools, one recently graduated from the Hoyoke Public Schools, well, let's do it for the kids. We're all for the kids. We all like schools. We all, that part of it, I just find uncompelling as an argument, okay? That's why I mention that, because you can love kids, want things for children, as I do for my own children personally, but I don't buy things for my kids if I can't afford to buy them. Because bankrupting this city and sending it into receivership is not doing the future generations of our children any good, okay? It sends the wrong signal. This is the problem we have nationally. Our national leadership is slowly, and sometimes not that slowly, bankrupting the entire country with its massive $20 trillion debt because nobody was courageous enough to say, can we afford this? And we're just doing it here because we're not even willing to examine these questions until later. And the fact of the matter is, the 475 is not recoverable if we ultimately make the decision. That's why I think that's a big commitment. And so to the extent that one counselor says, well, that whole bond of the 30 plus million is not on the vote today, that is technically true. Having said that, you forego this 475 if you later vote no. And that's a big amount of money. And so it should be given with that level of gravitas that goes with that. That was the point. So thank you, Mr. President.
Councilor Murphy-Ramaletti.
Yeah, I think I just want to make the point that, while it's clear that it's going to cost us $475,000 to do this feasibility study, if we do not do the feasibility study, we won't actually know if the city can afford this. That's really my understanding based on the conversations that have been happening in finance, is that we need to do this feasibility study in order to understand what the city can afford. So there are a lot of feelings in this room, and it's because we all care. But I also think that not voting on this and just delaying this further, it's not a good use of our time, our resources, and we do need to be looking at how much this is going to cost us. And in order to do that, we really do need this feasibility study. Thank you.
Councilor Givner for the first time.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would just like to say that I will be voting with a clear conscience for a feasibility study. I am not a lover of children. In fact, I don't have any. But I do live around a lot of them. And I can tell you what, I feel much safer when they're well educated and they're in spaces that keep them occupied, stimulated, and challenged. I also have lived in several communities, and I find that the communities I enjoy the most tend to have pretty good schooling and tend to keep their children occupied, stimulated, and educated. I would also like to mention that in order to breed success, we have to have good schools, and I think we start by having a feasibility study to see whether or not we can really do this. And I think by voting for the feasibility study and passing it, it really shows our communities that we're serious about this. And I, as a Ward 4 counselor, firmly believe that that's what the people of Ward 4 would like to see. Otherwise, I would not vote for it. But I do know that's what they want. I can't speak for the rest of the city, but it is important. And it's not because I love kids, but I do love living in communities where I feel safe, where they feel safe, and where there's a lot going on to keep us all part of a community and productive members of our societies. Thank you.
Councilor Maldonado Velez for the first time.
Thank you, Mr. President. So on the way here, I was thinking, wow, $475,000. Like, I'm gonna be making a decision for that much money for our city. And then I thought of what it was gonna be spent on, and sort of like all like worries sort of like went to the side, because this is something that this community, our community, has needed for a while. I mean, I was at PEC between 2000 and 2003. I remember some of the things that could have been updated back then. So I can just imagine the state of our buildings now. So it's time. It's time. Some of the arguments back in 2019 that I was hearing was, well, we can't do the two schools. Let's do one instead. And part of me agreed with that. Like, if we're not going to do the two schools because it's too expensive, okay, let's talk about one. We're here. We're being asked to build one. So another argument was mentioned before. I think I'm the first one that's going to mention it today, actually. Quote unquote, absent mayor for 10 years. Now we have a mayor that's very involved, that's going to make sure and stay on top of the finances, very open to every single person on the council to have conversations, making sure that our finances are working properly. And they have said, and members of other bodies have said, that we can do this. We can do this. So I'm going to echo what Issy said. Let's listen to the people that have been in this position, that have studied this, and let's trust them. That's really all I gotta say. Whether we vote today or March or April before the date, my vote's not gonna change. It's gonna be a yes, because it's time that we do this for our community. It's been way, way, way too long. Thank you.
Councilor Anderson Burgos.
A lot of the points I was going to make was already answered by Councilor Murphy Raboletti and Givner and Maldonado. I thank all my fellow councilors who understand the importance of this. What I don't understand is, I like a challenge. I have to figure out if what's before me, 2 roads, can we afford it? Or how can we afford it? I want to take the road. How can we make this affordable as to showing the public, look, we can't afford it. Look, we can't afford it. We can't afford it. We can't afford it because of this. We can't afford it because of that. We can't afford it because of this. And what if this happens? And what if that happens? And oh my God, what if the sky is falling? Please stop the noise. You know what? Again, I'm not going to go an hour and a half, sky's falling. I'm just going to vote yes. Let's all vote and see how that goes. Because obviously we could sit here and talk about it all night. Let's just take the vote. Shall we? Thank you.
Councilor McGivern.
I have to follow that.
You don't. I mean,
Councilor Anderson Burgos, it's good to have you back. Jeez. Sorry. Mr. President, just real quick, financial analysis. I in contact with the auditor as much as probably more than anybody, if not on a weekly basis. Jenny sometimes looks up my text and says, why you got this Tanya on your text every day? I said, we have things to talk about, Jen, It's all about what the position the city is in financially. Our auditor does a good job of financial analysis. She's working with a new mayor who has already demonstrated that he has the capacity to understand financial analysis and understand projecting the finances of the city and bringing some new ideas into the budgetary process. The financial analysis I'm talking about is what's being prepared now to prepare the recap sheet. So by the budget that's actually department heads are before the mayor, looking for what they need and what their needs are for next year and trying to make sense out of what the revenue projections are going to be. That financial analysis takes place all the time. We know that. Don't kid anyone. That financial analysis is and always has been, a very important part of this process. We went under a finance control board back in the late 80s, early 90s, when our budget was in such dire shape. We had a $5 million hole that was partly created by Proposition 2.5 and the timing of the way Proposition 2.5 took place and the revenue that came in. The voters of this community saved the city and made up most of that $5 million in an override back in 1992. It was the first originally, proposed when Marty Dunn was still our mayor. And we have never looked back in working hard to keep the balanced budget and to keep within our means and projections. A financial analysis of this project right now can tell us the $475,000 we can afford. Does that answer the question? Should we spend it not knowing if we can afford the $39 million, which we don't know is going to be the final cost of the project, and we don't know if it's going to be our final obligation to the cost of the project, because we have to get in front of the MSBA to allow them to do their analysis of our feasibility study. It's not, to the MSBA, it's not just about bricks and mortar. It's not about the location, the color, the building. It's about the size of a classroom. It's about how many science labs do you have? What technology are you going to use in this building? What environmental, controls, for the building are going to be in place? It's about a lot of things. It's about, allowing a community to say we want to do what's right for our educators who are providing that education to the children that we need, which, I think we all agree that the education is part of the process of bettering the city of Holyoke by part of that breaking the poverty cycle, education, providing jobs, and providing good housing. And then, then our taxes, our revenue from taxes go up. And I agree with Councilor Jordan, property tax, I've said this for years, property tax is sinful. And it's sinful on any community, but on this community, it makes no sense. But that we can't change tonight. We don't control our taxing scheme. The state does. The state controls this. I believe if we can get back in the hopper with the MSBA, we're going to see some movement on Capitol Hill that's going. I'm sorry, not Capitol Hill, Beacon Hill. Capitol Hill could help us too, Kevin. And I agree with you on that one. But let's not get into that party argument right now. We need to get in front of the MSBA, and we need the legislature to recognize what we're trying to do, that we are. I have not heard anyone tonight or through this whole process criticize or find any fault with the proposal of this building in front of us. That's a big plus. Our difference is we want to go forward with it. Affordability will always be part of this argument, and our difference is, can we get to the next step and hope that the right things take place that are out of our control before we have to take the real vote, which is on the cost of the final project? And that's the process. I don't like it. I wouldn't do it if I was buying a home. I agree. But I'm not buying a home for the city of Holyoke. I'm trying to get the state to help us build a building that we need desperately. There will be savings with the consolidations of elementary schools. There will be savings with the consolidations of high-salary administrators in those schools. There will be better schools, to put our children in for education, and there'll be something that makes a lot more sense if we take the steps to go forward and work with the MSBA on getting the help we need to pay for it. I grew up in a time when, our state delegation, was incredible. We had Morris Donahue, who had, education written on his forehead. We had, Councilor Bartley's father, who was an incredible asset to the bringing of, education, especially at community college, back to this city. Ann McHugh, a very good friend of mine, named a school building after her. She was on the Regents, the Higher Board of Education by Governor Dukakis, a Western Mass woman. We're going back into the 70s and 80s. That was a big part of this. We had Betty Medina Lichtenstein. We had people, Carlos Bacon, we had people that fought to provide education. And some parents actually had to go out and sue because the formula back then was not geared towards the education of low-income children. And that's sad. That's sad. We're in a position, and I think the legislature is in that position because of the language changes that they just recently agreed to Chapter 70. We're in a position to get back in the hopper. We don't have to April. We're not the only community in Massachusetts that wants to build a school. And the MSBA is only going to allow so many communities into the hopper this year. And we just got knocked out, by the project that failed. And I'm not criticizing that the project failed, but we got knocked out of their sites. This is a special opportunity they're giving us to hop right back in. It's almost unheard of in the history of the MSBA. We have a chance to at least get before the powers to be and make our point. We don't know until the final design and the final formula is set by the MSBA what our cost is. We will have, before that, an analysis that projects our revenue and projects what we think we can afford in terms of paying off the debt obligation on an annual basis. There's other sources of revenue that can come into play. There's other ways that we could possibly save money, but we can't get to that point if we don't tell the MSBA, we're going forward with the feasibility study. Will you welcome us in for this cycle? It's as simple as that. Not an easy vote. All the arguments made this evening throughout the Finance Committee are valid. Yes, they are. But don't kid yourself. If we don't pass this, we're out, and we don't know when we'll get back in the cycle again.
Councilor Rivera.
I'm all set.
All right. Councilor Paul wants to speak for a third time. Motion would be to suspend the rules, allow him to speak. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Councilor Paul.
Thanks, everybody. Yeah, I just want to say, I'll start off very, very quickly. I know this is my third time. I heard this isn't what I would do with my personal finances, and I love my finance chairman. I love him. Great guy, but I don't know about that. Just very quickly, the override, we have all the information that we need now to make that determination. We have all the information we need. We have the $31 million number. We know what it's going to cost. That's all we need for this. We know what the city's capital needs are. So we keep hearing we don't have the information. We have it. Personally, I think it's going to be a little bit higher when we end up doing the feasibility study. And that's going to be a big problem. And then the last thing, I keep hearing about trusting other people and trusting the leadership. I trust a lot of people. This is a part-time thing, so I lean on a lot of the information that other folks give us. But we have to remember that this proposal is being proposed by the same people that really pushed this 2.5 override, and that's the issue that I have with this. If this is due in April, this is the last thing I'll say, if this is due in April, we have the information now, why aren't we doing it? Thank you.
All right, so, Councilor Tallman.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. President. This is an important vote. We do this, we get there, we're back in line. We don't do this, it doesn't happen. And I understand, I really respect my colleagues, especially Councilor Jordan and Councilor Bacon, asking the tough questions. We had Cinder here, when we asked some questions, or Councilor Jane asked several questions of her. And she had provided to the city what we had asked of her at that time. And she said we could afford it. We voted as a council last year, a different council, to tell the MSBA that we wanted to get back in line. And the full council did pass that unanimously. If we don't do this, it doesn't happen. And I think we heard from our school maintenance people, our school building people, that schools are in dire need. Several schools are in dire need. We need a school so we can take a couple schools offline. If we build a new school, it takes a couple of the schools off, savings of the utilities, savings of staff. The school we want to build it is Peck School. That is actually several issues, several problems. I think we heard earlier a couple of weeks ago at the Finance Committee, it's about $600,000 just in utility costs alone. And the way the school is built is just not right since they built it. We talk about education, we talk about the kids, and it is important. You educate our children. Councilor Bacon said it's not the school building, it's the students. And it isn't school building. I went to some old schools here, Highland School, Lynch School, that were really old schools built 1900. Lynch was built in like 1954. And some of those schools were old, musty. I still got an education. Part of it is about how the students learn, their upbringing, their home life, you know. We were very fortunate to get back in line to the MSBA after that failure a couple of years ago, a little over 2 years ago. And to get back in really was miraculous, I think, because they didn't have to let us get back into the line to get a new school. And I was on board with Councilor Jordan, Councilor McGivern when we built at the addition to Holyoke High School. It was costly. State reimbursement was probably, what, 80, 90%? A little bit higher than what we've been getting. And just a reminder, those two schools that we were going to build, 3 years ago, that the vote before the people, 65%, was two schools. And it was on the taxpayer. It was on their taxes, and people spoke loud and clear. They didn't want to pay. This isn't it is on the taxpayer indirectly. It's on our budget. But it isn't added on to their taxes like it was going to be $100, $200 more every year, a couple hundred more on their taxes. And I understand the debate about the mall. A lot of properties are going offline. There will be revenue coming in also. There'll be new buildings. There'll be money from the marijuana companies. Not a lot. It'll be something. When do we say that we're not going to invest in our city? Education is something that brings people in, just like good homes, businesses, people come to work. I think people that are coming to this community want a good educational system. Can this help? I think it can help. Holyoke was built on the industrial area, what we brought in, the area that we have, the canals, the river, the mills. And how can we sit here and say that we want to invest in trying to make this community better? And there is a cost. I agreed on that at the finance meeting. $475,000 is not loose change. It's a lot of money. But if we don't take the step to put that forward and have the study and look to see if we can afford the school for the next 30 years, it just doesn't happen. I think Cinder said that. If you don't want to vote for the feasibility study, then just don't vote for the new school. It just doesn't happen. And I sat here at the last 3 or 4 finance meetings, and I was really impressed that our new mayor was here at every one of those meetings. He was here with his laptop. He was here with the auditor online and the treasurer, and any questions we had of him, he answered. If he couldn't answer, he was trying to set something up, and he's trying to say, well, I'll get back to you on that. Has he been in touch with our department heads? I believe so. Has he contacted, Cinder? I think on a couple occasions. Has he talked to the MSBA? I think he's even talked to them. This is important. I'm voting yes for this tonight, and hopefully I get majority of my college to go along with me. Thank you.
All right, so seeing no one else, just recognize that Whitney Anderson is here, so is Anthony Soto. They've been here throughout the discussion and here in case we had questions for them. With that said, was the motion to pass the first reading, Councilor McGivern?
Yes, yes, Mr. President.
Or a second to that?
Second.
So motion is passed the first reading. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Motion to pass the second reading.
Motion is passed the second reading. The clerk will call roll. If you vote yes, you're voting for the 475.
Aiken?
No.
Anderson Burgos?
Yes.
Bartley?
No.
Givner?
Yes.
Jordan?
No.
Maldonado Velez?
Yes.
McGee?
Yes.
McGivern?
Yes.
Murphy Ramboletti?
Yes.
Coelho?
No.
Israel Rivera?
Yes.
Jenny Rivera?
Yes.
Tallman?
Yes.
9 yeas, 4 nays.
With your vote, you approve that one. 17F, Committee on Finance hereby appropriate a transfer of $11,200 from power shovel operator to property management demo worker. Recommended that be adopted. This motion to receive, adopt, pass the first reading. Under discussion, Councilor McGivern.
Thank you, Mr. President. We had our DPW Superintendent Amy before us on this. It's actually been in committee for a few months. She originally was analyzing the positions, the power shovel operator, there's been vacancies in those positions throughout the year. That's why there's a surplus. And when she first put in for the transfer, the person who was holding the position of the property maintenance demolition worker itself looked like that person was leaving the city, leaving the position. It turned out that the gentleman stayed, and therefore she needs the $11,200 to take care of the salary for the rest of the year. The Finance Committee votes in favor, recommending the transfer.
Seeing no one else, motion is passed the first reading. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed?
Motion to pass the second reading?
Motion is passed the second reading. The clerk will call roll. If you vote yes, you're voting for the transfer.
Bacon?
Yes.
Anderson Burgos?
Yes.
Bartley? Givner?
Yes.
Jordan?
Yes.
Maldonado Velez? McGee?
Yes.
McGivern?
Yes.
Murphy Ramboletti?
Yes.
Puello?
Yep.
Israel Rivera?
Yes.
Jenny Rivera?
Yes.
Tallman?
Yes.
11 yeas.
With your vote, you approve that one. 17G.
Mr. President,
yep.
just a point of information, Counselor Bartley let me know that he needed to leave.
Okay, so Counselor Bartley has left for the night. He had prior obligation. 17G, Committee on Finance was hereby transfer of $65,000 from heavy equipment operator to refuge. Motion to receive, adopt, pass the first reading. Councilor McGivern.
Thank you, Mr. President. We've had this before us for a few meetings also, and what we've learned is that there's a line item within the DPW budget where it's used for temporary replacements. We all know that the DPW is going through some tough times with keeping positions filled, both from retirements and from vacancies, and having a difficult time for different reasons to fill a number of their positions. That causes a void, and sometimes temporary work is brought in. What we learned, and I guess this has been going on because it was kind of a surprise, that not that the workers were coming in, but that the Sheriff Cochee, and it's a group called the York Street Industries, and we've known this for some time, bring in inmates that come in and do work within the city confines itself. The work is well supervised. We've heard reports about this over the years. It works, to fill the void of when we don't have the proper amount of employees to do the work itself. What we didn't know was that a contract for $66,600, which is about $360 for any day that this crew is brought in, is something that's been paid throughout the years. It just took us a little bit by surprise. Amy, who came in to explain this to us with the Bob Parents both being the engineer and being the deputy, I guess, superintendent, because of the head engineer position itself, talked a lot about this to us. This got somewhere in the mix of when we had our Councilor Terrence Murphy was filling in as mayor, Councilor McGee filled in as mayor, and before the special election. And the work was essentially, we found out, was essentially provided by the sheriff's crew. And this is a bill that is past due. We do recommend, we owe a bill that we pay it. We certainly know we got work from it. My question, but it'll be in the future, is, should we be paying something that state taxpayers, we're all state taxpayers, are paying for in terms of the House of Correction and in terms of everything that goes on within the House. It's a good program, and at this time we do owe the money, and we recommend that we adopt the transfer tonight.
All right. So, Councilor Rivera.
I guess I just wanted to speak just because I'm familiar with the York Industries program. I I hear where Mr. McGivern is, or Councilor McGivern is coming from with regards to the us having to pay if taxpayers are already paying for the service. There's two pieces to that. I agree with Councilor McGivern with that, but there's another piece to it with regards to the York Industries. I myself am a former ex-felon. I never got to take advantage of the York Industries program, but I do know that it does provide work opportunity for ex-felons that are coming out of prison. So it kind of provides the chance for people to start working before they come out and start gaining the experience at the same time while they're acclimating with their society, with the new society. I think there's ways to possibly improve on that relationship so that way when people that are incarcerated from Holyoke, more or less, can take advantage of this program, especially if we're paying for it from our city dollars, and maybe trying to grow the program in a sense where, or helping them grow the program where people can actually find more sustainable work after going through the program. But I just wanted to make the comment on the fact that I agree with Mr. McGivern with regards to the funds. It's just that there's a double-edged sword with regards to possibly, if we don't pay for this, then some prisoners or people that are coming out onto the street might not gain the experience that they might need with acclimating with their society and the community, and at the same time trying to get work experience and building their resume up before they come out of prison.
All right, so motion is to pass the first reading. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed?
Motion to pass the second reading.
Motion is passed the second reading. The clerk will call roll. If you vote yes, you're voting for the transfer.
Bacon?
Yes.
Anderson Burgos?
Yes.
Givner?
Yes.
Jordan?
Yes.
Maldonado Velez?
Yes.
McGee?
Yes.
McGivern?
Yes.
Murphy? Ramboletti?
Yes.
Coelho?
Yes.
Israel Rivera?
Yes.
Jenny Rivera?
Yes.
Tallman?
Yes.
12 yeas.
With your vote, you approve the transfer. 17H, Committee on Finance to refer an order that the mayor, receiver meet with the Finance Committee, update the City Council on the potential of receiving MSBA approval for Building 1 new middle school. Recommend it's been complied with. So motion is received.
Motion received.
Complied with.
Yes, sure. Thank you, Mr. President. We've had this in committee for some time now. I think with the both our committee and the joint committee with the schools, this has been complied with. It was just to bring us up to date before we got everything into the hopper.
All right, so motion that's been complied with. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? There was no public safety. That'll be tomorrow at what, 6:30?
Yeah.
Not 6. You're not trying to mess me up. All right, just making sure. All right, public service, 19A, Committee on Public Service to refer to Mayor Garcia appoint Shirley Figueroa of 223 Pine Street to serve as the Board of Valley Opportunity Council to serve until December 31st, 2022. It expires. Recommend that be confirmed. So what's the new? Replacing Anthony Soto to finish out the term of December 2022. Okay, got it. So filling the term till 2022.
I'll make a recommendation the appointment be confirmed.
So any
Ms. Cheryl Figueroa.
Any discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? B was already done.
Could I take, suspend the rules? We got several orders that we were going to clean out of the jacket. We did an ordinance last week, lead to withdraw, but there was one that got mixed in
J.
19J, please.
So motion to go out order to 19J. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Committee on Public Service was referred an order from Mayor Garcia appointing Nicholas Duclos to the Park and Rec, and that it will expire June 30th, 2024. Motion is to receive, adopt, and confirm.
Motion to receive, adopt, and confirm the appointment for Mr. Duclos. I just want to say something.
Hold on, Councilor Tallman first.
Okay, we had Mr. Duclos in here. He has been involved in several things in the city and politics. He's got some education from political science from Howard University and Bryn Allen College. He currently works at Gary Rome Honda. He was a member of the United States Air National Guard over at Barnes for 6 years, or 5 years, working in the finance department. He's been involved with the Holyoke Boys and Girls Club. He sat down there, we asked him several questions on his involvement with the city and what he wanted to do with the Department of Public Works. He would be fulfilling a position by Mr. Rivera, who is now with us on the council. He's filling his position that will expire on June 30th in 2024, which is a little over 2 years. And I just think he'd be a great candidate for this. He's lived in Holyoke. He's just recently purchased a home there. Family person, family man. He has 3 daughters, and I figured it'd be a great fit for the community to serve in this position that is really an important position now, especially since we're short a parks director.
Councilor Anderson Burgos.
Thank you for allowing me to speak. So I unfortunately had missed the public service meeting, but I did go back and I reviewed the tape, the recording. And I will say I was very impressed with Nick Duclos' interview. I mean, obviously he works in Holyoke. He owns a home in Holyoke. His children are in Holyoke Public Schools. He is, in the true definition, Holyoke. So, you know, as I'm watching the tape, I was appalled. I witnessed another colleague attempt to discredit the applicant by bringing up his past. This was a horrific display to witness and completely uncalled for. So I'm going to share something with you all, and I want this to be in public, so we're in a public setting, so it's being recorded and documented. Back in 2015, when I decided to run, it was rumored that this was going to be used against me. The fact that I had 3 DUIs, that I used drugs, that I was incarcerated, that I went to rehab. But of course, they would leave out that I busted my behind, that I worked hard. I went to UMass and I got an education. My mother, my father helped me get there, and I worked extremely, extremely hard to make up for my wrongs. But yet, they were planning on using that against me. Someone like me who's compassionate, who loves and breeds community, who will do anything to help my fellow Holyoker and beyond. And the way I look at it and what it makes me think, I'm like, how are we supposed to grow? Who in their right mind, who hasn't learned from their past mistakes? Ask yourself this. What kind of person takes pleasure in bringing people down and bringing up their past to do that? What message does this send to people? That you will always be defined by your lowest moment. And I find it funny, and I find it interesting that in the beginning of every single city council meeting, we recite the Pledge of Allegiance. You know, the part that says, with liberty and justice for all. Well, I want to ask you, who's all? Who is all? Is it me? Is it Nick? Is it other people that made mistakes from the past that now we can't come back from? If you want to be a true leader, stop that. Stop that, because everyone is looking, and like I promised, that when I see the pink elephant in the room, I will point it out. Guess what, folks? Pink elephant in the room. Stop it. We're watching, we're catching up, and we will win. Thank you.
Anyone for Councilor Jordan?
First thing, I'd like to request a roll call vote on this. So I'd first like to have a roll call vote.
Roll call.
2 members asked for roll call. You need 3.
I'll ask for a roll call vote.
All right, so 3 members have asked for a roll call. This vote will be a roll call.
And under discussion?
Al Truderdane.
Yes. First of all, I'm intrigued by a great number of things I hear around here. It's almost on par with the Dr. Phil show, as opposed to a council meeting, but fair enough. People are choose to do what they wish. I will take exception to one comment. Nobody takes pleasure in having to state the obvious. I only can tell you that I do my job, and I have a duty. There's 13 people in the room. We all interpret our own duty as we see fit. Voters choose to see if that's a good way to handle yourself or it's a bad way to handle yourself. But there's one thing you can say about me. I speak my mind. I'm very transparent. There's no hide the ball about where I come down on issues. And seemingly I have been elected here 13 times in a row. So, people seem to feel I add something to the discussion. When people here have been here 13 times, and I know there's certainly one member who has been here well more than 13 times, I think we all add something to the discussion. So I don't critique how other people wish to weigh in on these things. That's their business. And, I am also intrigued by, sort of the biblical context of saying, and good shall be called evil, and evil shall be called good. We can all interpret that in different ways. I certainly don't think it's reprehensible to bring up a nominee's past conduct as it directly relates to the city of Holyoke. In fact, I think it's glaringly obvious, some would say with sirens in this case, obvious. Here we have an individual who, again, I was president of the city council at the time on March 8th, 2014, when this very unfortunate incident, and again, I would love to vote for this person absent all of this, but I can't. And I explained why at public service, and I'm going to briefly explain why I can't here for the benefit of all. Number one, we have someone who we learn in this report, by the way, who had a driver's license suspended for 2 years before this incident. And they did get out of this individual, apparently, that he had been driving our mayor's car on other occasions. But on this occasion, he drove it without any permission. Shouldn't have been driving it at all, because you're supposed to have a license to drive city property, by the way. And let's just focus on that for a moment. City property. This is a city car. This is the mayor's car. Our property, taxpayer funded. That's city business. Not your personal business of who you were using drugs with, who you were selling drugs to, or Lord knows what else other people around here have disclosed or otherwise. This, as it relates to this, I will only speak to because these are the facts related to this nominee. This person took on this evening city property without permission. That's a pretty serious thing. Takes a car, a city car, then proceeds to drive drunk with a blood alcohol level of 0.12 around Northampton. Can we all imagine if somebody had been hit while this person was driving drunk in our car? I think we'd all be having a much different conversation, perhaps, but perhaps not. Maybe it's just, well, I'm sorry. That's all that matters. Then proceeds to drive where cars aren't supposed to drive. Taking city property without permission, driving drunk in our car, all these other sundry offenses that went there this evening that I don't need to get into, the speeding, the operating without a suspended license, the whole gambit, operating on bikeways, not yielding at a red light, all the other stuff that goes with it. was a major deal. That goes to judgment. Do people make mistakes? Sure. Make mistake like this? Taking city property, driving drunk in our car? That isn't just a mistake. That's a mistake. If you were working in a job, you would be immediately, summarily fired, period. Would you be rehired? No, you would not be rehired, okay? If anybody thinks if you were in the private sector, in the real world, happened and you did this to a company car, you would not be rehired. Should this individual be rehired to be put in charge of the Park and Rec Department? No, absolutely not. Do I get it that he's very close with the mayor and maybe he's close to a number of people here and maybe is he a nice person and he's your friend and all of that? My job is to look out for what is right and what is just. Any objective measure of what is right and what is just, this shocks the conscience. This is not, this guy didn't pay his property tax on time, or he racked up a bunch of parking tickets. This way exceeds that. Okay, way exceeds that by this isn't, I say I'm sorry, and we're ready to have you in charge of a city department. No, I don't think so. I don't think so. So that's the real world I live in. People don't want to have that opinion. God bless you. Everybody, we have 13 opinions in here. But that's my opinion, and that's the real world that I live in, and I'm here to, what I believe, do what's right by the people of this community. I have yet to meet anybody, and I'm willing to talk to others, that thinks this sends a message to others. If you confirm this, what don't you confirm? I mean, what is unconfirmable? I mean, this to me is an absolute confirmation pass to anybody at this point, because what do you have to do? The only thing I've seen so far that says is the unforgivable is maybe if you vote Republican. That's about the only thing I think is unforgivable, because we had anonymous flyers going around that said, whatever you do, don't put these two in charge, because, my God, we got to put this group in charge and certainly not these two. And I'm referring to me and Vacan, because we lack judgment. We lack judgment, okay? Don't ever put any of those two in charge, because I think if you scratch their skin, it might be alien under there, okay? They have no judgment. But this is judgment. There's not a peep heard. Just move right along, nothing to see here. No problem. And we'll have a good evening. Thank you.
Councilor Rivera.
I think I was confirmed twice, I believe. And my record is, way worse than Nick's, just saying. and when I was confirmed, I think you were a city councilor who confirmed me.
No back and forth, please.
My bad. I was confirmed once last June, and before that, I was confirmed 3 years before that, because it's a 3-year term. So whoever was in power 3 years before last June confirmed me unanimously. Just saying. Should I not be sitting in this seat if that's the case? Is that the opinion of some of my colleagues here? Should I not be sitting in this seat? Because democracy, I thought, was for everyone, no matter where you've been and what. Like, at the end of the day, you make mistakes, and for me, this is emotional. Now this is passionate, because I know Nick, he's not a close friend to me. I know him very well, but at the end of the day, what's happening here kind of feels personal, and that's not even right. Because when it happened to me, I did not face this. It's crazy. This is a drunk driving. Not saying that it's not important. It is important. Like, it happened. It's real. But ultimately, it's like, when did this happen? About 7-10 years ago? Was it a misdemeanor or a felony? If it's a misdemeanor, I think 7 years is for a misdemeanor, right? 10 years is for a felony. Do you never get equal access back to being a normal citizen again? Do we never get to be able to be a regular person again? Or should we just not take his tax dollars anymore? Because he doesn't deserve to be on the commission or do anything with the city. We should just not take his tax dollars. Have him his own little island land for him. And for me too, because I would be considered the same if that's the case. I don't know. I get it, right? But we're in a community and we're in a city where we're arresting people every day, bro. Like, we invest most of our money in arresting people. How do we not expect this to, like, get to a point where a lot of people are going to have criminal charges? Eventually, you're going to get to a point where you have a community of people that are not going to be able to say anything then. Then what? Then who has the real power? Then who gets to speak? I don't know. It is what it is. I guess I wasn't privileged enough to stay out of trouble long enough.
Councilor Murphy Ramboletti, then Councilor Bacon.
I just, thank you, Mr. President. I just want to say that, honestly, this type of decorum and the just attitude of folks is why people don't put their name in for positions like this. And it's why people like Izzy, Councilor Rivera, don't run. And to anyone that's watching who has a history of substance abuse, alcohol dependency, and you've made some bad mistakes in your life, maybe 20 years ago, maybe 10 years ago, I just want you to know that you should still, if you have turned your life around, if you have been able to purchase a home, if you have learned from your mistakes, as we've heard from the appointee, then I hope you'll still consider to put your name in and not be afraid of someone digging up your past in such a way that just feels extremely personal. And Nick is not a friend of mine. I think he would agree with that. Pretty much also because of this incident. I was working in the mayor's office when this happened. I have not really spoken to Nick since then. Does that mean I think he's not capable of contributing to the city ever? If that was the case, if I held someone's actions against them for over a decade, or whatever the case may be, I wouldn't have voted for Izzy. I did. So for what it's worth, for the people that are listening, you know, this is why people don't step up and throw their name in unless they're 12th generation Hoyokers who have never made a mistake in their entire life. And that's not the type of city government I want to support, and that's why I will be voting in favor of this appointee. Thank you.
Councilor Bacon.
Thank you, Mr. President. So I heard two words tonight. I heard horrific and I heard hypocrisy. And I'm going to say both are very present in the room tonight. So there's probably a majority of the people in the room tonight whose names were on a flyer where I was vilified, and so was Councilor Jourdain, because of a legal position that we took. And not one named person on the flyer spoke out in our defense that we had a right to have a difference of opinion and to spend our personally earned money in any which way we choose. And relative to the people who are saying, my record is worse than the record of the person who's coming up, I didn't know the details of a record of a certain counselor until very recently, because it was not made public. And to my knowledge, it was not generally made public, and it still hasn't been. But in the case of the appointee before us tonight, that was very public. And it was quite a matter in the city discourse. And these positions that we confirm people to are positions of community leadership. And I certainly am a person who believes in redemption and people paying their dues and building themselves a better life. But that doesn't mean that you are automatically put in a position of leadership and held up as somebody necessarily righteous. So I really think if people want to be talking about who should feel comfortable to be running for city council, I'm not a lifer Holyoker. I'm a Western Mass person. I'm no 8th generation Holyoker sitting here in the city council, but I do represent the people that elect me who want to continue to live in an affordable city. But having said all that, are you as welcoming to people who don't believe the way you believe? Absolutely not, you're not. Or any one of you, and not one of you ever spoke up to say that that was wrong, what happened during the last election. So don't preach to me. Thank you.
Councilor Puelo.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. President. Just very quickly, I do think that the line of questioning, I think it's appropriate. I think that every job that you apply to, even for this one, I think we had to fill out a query sheet. So I think the line of questioning is okay in the employee packet, at least some of us had to. Now, what I do think, we all have our own opinion on, on reform and all that. I think we had a really good discussion last night. I thank Chairman Tallman for that. I will be voting yes to confirm Nick. I think the line of questioning is okay, because if I apply to a job, I have to fill out all this information, I have to provide it, and they're going to ask me questions on that, and I have to be ready to talk to it, and this is no different than any other job like that. Now, I think that, we can all make our own informed decision based off of all the facts and everything, and that's okay to have disagreeing opinions, because I do think the line of questioning is okay. But again, I'll be voting yes for this, and thanks to Chairman Tallman. I agree with the points that he made that night. Thank you.
Councilor Jordan.
Yeah, just to go over a couple points here that were made during the discussion. First of all, I think it's important to note, one, these events occurred, this isn't some private matter that occurred 20 years ago. This was in a city vehicle. Someone took city property without authority. And then with city property, exposed liability to this city, drove this vehicle drunk and did all the other sundry of things. This is a public matter. Well, of course, it's a public matter. It was a huge public matter at the time that it occurred. It was widely reported in the newspaper. Let's just be crystal clear. This isn't me digging something up. This was editorialized. It was in the papers daily for a long extended period of time. Basic Google search and you have this. This, to me, crosses a serious line. That's where I'm going with it. As far as all this other stuff about, what does this mean that no one has the right to ever help their community? There's other ways to help your community. And as I expressed to the mayor, and I discussed this all with him privately before I discussed this publicly at the Public Service Committee, and that's the way we operate here. We're out in the open. That's the way it should be. And people should know this when they apply for these things. But I spoke to him about my reservations about this, and I said I was a little surprised by this nomination. There's plenty of other ways to contribute, and it doesn't mean that the public is best served by having folks like this put in charge of their departments, because I think it also sends a terrible message to the other employees and to everyone involved that effectively this conduct is condoned. I think that's the message. Say you're sorry, no problem. Whoop, right back in, you're in charge of this department. This person now is going to be selecting the new park and rec director and all of that. I don't feel comfortable with that. This should never have occurred. It did occur relative to the city, and everyone, like I said, I respect everybody else's opinion to come to their conclusions. That is my conclusion on it, and I think that is in the best interest of the city so that we send a strong message to curb this type of behavior or anybody thinking they would ever perform this kind of behavior against the city of Holyoke. Thank you.
Councilor Anderson Burgos.
Yes, I want to clarify something because the statement was made that when that flyer was being circulated, that no one in the chambers spoke up against it. And I'm here to state that I was one of those ones that said, I did not approve that flyer. I do not agree with the flyer. That is not how I conduct myself. The way I feel is you vote how you feel. You vote the way you want to vote. I'm not going to hold that against you. I bring something totally different to the table. I'm not going to hold, if you voted for a certain president, then so be it. I'm not going to hold that against you. So I did stand up. So for the counselor to say that no one in the room stood up, that's false, because I did.
You did, in fairness.
We're not going back and forth. Councilor Anderson Burgos.
I will stand corrected.
He is right about that.
So, Councilor Anderson Burgos, has the floor, please.
He is right about that.
Mr. President,
Yeah,
I will stand corrected in that regard.
Okay.
Listen, the other counselors, I believe the city council is like, we're a part of a lung. We all breathe, right? We all work together to make this function. We all have our different thoughts, our different beliefs, and that's okay. We in some way, shape or form, we reflect Holyoke in our own ways, in our own beliefs. And sometimes, yes, do I get passionate? Like if I'm on the Phil show? Yes, because sometimes I believe that when people see hurt, that people with a conscience will say, maybe let me step back and take a different direction. And I hope and pray to God that one day you do it. Okay, I'm not directing at anyone. I'm just saying, let's come together. Let's allow, and again, vote if you don't want to support Nick, that's fine. I'm supporting Nick because I do believe that we learn from our mistakes. And say what you will, but I truly feel that this is just, the vote is going to happen because I really feel that this city council will do the right thing. That's it. Thank you.
Councilor Maldonado Velez.
Thank you, Mr. President. There's a lot of noise happening. We're on page 4 out of a 12-page agenda, and it's 9:45. So I want to take an awkward, very long moment of silence because I think we need to be silent for like 15 seconds, and I can't direct it at anyone, so I think us as a body should just take 15 seconds. Let's do it. The only thing I wanted to say is congratulations, Nick. I hope you do great in this position. That's it.
Councilor Givner.
I just wanted to mention that I don't disagree with the lines of questioning that were in the public service meeting. I thought that there was a lot of good information that came out, so I wanted to just put that out there. And I also wanted to state for the record before Juan already did that I did publicly condemn that flyer that we're all getting so much heat about. We did not agree to it. No one asked our permission. We just ended up on this flyer and we didn't have any say in it and we didn't want to be a part of it. And I publicly condemned it and asked to be removed and asked that we all be, asked before we just have our names plastered on things. So I just wanted to clear the air on that. I don't think anyone should feel as if this was like a personal attack from us here. We had nothing to do with it, none of us. and it's like not even clear who exactly was behind it. So that weird anonymous flyer, I would just like you to know that I didn't have anything to do with it. And my colleagues, as far as I know, didn't have anything to do with it. And we didn't, I was in several like conversations where we were all appalled and we couldn't understand how we were associated with it without our permission. So I just wanted to put that out there and clear the air a little. Thank you.
Councilor McGivern.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just want to focus on what's before us. I understand the conversation and political fires, and last November was the election, but I think it's time to go forward. It's against the law to have political fires in the city hall, in these chambers, and it's really against the law to even endorse candidates or talk about endorsing candidates. And, you know, City Councilor Murphy Ramboletti, you got to teach her about the bullet vote. You don't vote for someone you're running against for one of those spots, you know? I'm sure you know about it. I spoke quickly at the Public Service Committee meeting when this appointment came before us. The resume speaks for itself. The credentials are there for this position, some finance experience, some volunteer work at the Boys and Girls Club, a job for a local business person, and so forth, and a person that, you know, stepped forward. But the reason I stated that at the Public Service Committee is because I appreciate when people step forward for positions, especially positions that are important but are not paid. And the Parks and Rec Commission is important, but it is an unpaid position, and good people, you know, with credentials is important. I listened to what Councilor Jourdain said, and also listened to Mr. Duclos respectfully respond to the concerns of Councilor Jourdain. And quite frankly, the incident that did take place, Mr. Duclos, shared with the committee, was on probation, completed his probation, and the matter was dismissed at the end of the probation period. He paid the price. As a probation officer, I can tell you that the number of people who are placed on probation in lieu of another penalty, more than 60% of them do not complete probation. They don't. And they become repeat offenders and problems. And we are ecstatic when someone completes a probationary period and we know that they're on the step to going back into the mainstream, on the step to a better life and bettering themselves and going forward. It's part of what we do, and it's part of what I think we should all be cognizant of. The most important thing is Mayor Garcia, this is his appointment. He put this in front of us. His vote of confidence in Mr. Duclos, his vote of confidence that he can work with them on a position that will very shortly be picking the next superintendent of the Parks and Recreation, confirmed by the mayor. But we have a history of our Parks and Rec directors, most of them last 25, 30 years. I don't take that lightly. I think this position is important. And I think that the mayor's vote of confidence and the credentials we see in Mr. Duclos' resume speaks for itself, and I have no problem confirming this appointment.
Councilor Tallman.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just want to also clear the air tonight on the flyer. I had nothing to do with that. Councilor Jourdain, I've worked with you several years. I respect you. I respect the work. Councilor Bacon, we may disagree on certain things. Fiscally, I think I'm right in line with you on some issues as far as the city budget, and you know that. I had nothing to do with that flyer. My name got thrown on there with several other councilors that were running for office, and it said my name or any other council at large. I believe it said that. And I apologize if that made it difficult with you during that election, but things happen sometimes. People put things out there. I don't even know who put that out there. I have no idea who put that out there. I apologize if it did affect the election in some way. I'm glad it didn't. But it's something I don't do. I mean, I've been running for this position. Actually, I was first elected in '91 and came back in 2000, and I haven't been here 13 terms like you, Kevin, or like 20 terms, Joe? Something like that, 21. But I have been reelected by the people, and I do represent the people, the citizens of Holyoke, all citizens of the city. And I'm proud of that. I got put into this position as public service chair. I think I was public service chair probably about 10 years ago. And I've sort of laid low for a while. I got on finance committee and public safety, DGR, and I never really stepped up to take up a chairmanship. And I asked our president, I would like to do that this year. And I knew there'd be a lot of new appointments coming up. I knew the mayor would bring a lot of people forward. And, never did I know that there's some really heated discussions, and which is good. It's a good dialogue. I brought this forward. Kevin, your questions were good that night. The way it went across, I think, was got a little heated, a little difficult. I think most people know how I feel. I think it's been already in the paper. It's been on social media. I'm not much for social media at all. I'm not even on Facebook. So, so if you're going to find me, you know where to find me, right here around the phone. I mean, there's no thing that you can connect me with there. But we asked him some questions. I think it'd be a great fit for this community. He did have, we all have a past. We've all had issues in our lives. I mean, some things that go on in our lives we're not really happy about. Some of it has issues that, sometimes are hard to overcome. It's important that we realize that we're all human and that we're all in this together. We're a collective body here. We're going to have disagreements. I don't know who was saying it. Was it you, Joe, or Kevin, or Jack Wilhan? We walk out that gate, we're all one, right? I mean, whatever discussions that we have in here, respectfully, we gotta understand that everybody has their own opinions, everybody has their own vote, and I respect everybody's vote. And I learned that in the military. Isn't that right? Well, we learned that in the military about respect for others and trying to learn to get along with everybody. But everybody knows how I felt about this. We all had made our mistakes. It's an important position, and we are going to be hiring somebody for the Parks Department. Do I feel Nick can stand up to the job and do it? I think so. Do I know Nick that well? Not really. I know he works at Gary Rome. I know he has a family. He bought a house up in the Highlands. Is Nick trying to better his life? I believe he is. I think he's done some good things in his life since this incident. It was a serious incident, Kevin, no doubt. I mean, city property, city vehicle. If you got an accident, someone could have been killed. I think he showed some of that remorse that night when we interviewed him, that he was sorry about that. And I believe he said that he lives with that every day. Sometimes we have things in our past we do that it doesn't go away. But I really feel that this will be a good appointment. And as Councilor McGivern stated, this is something that the mayor brought forward. Not any one of us. The mayor brought this forward, and he feels he has confidence in Nick doing the job as a Parks and Rec commissioner. That's what he's doing. It's a volunteer position for the city of Holyoke, very important position. He's willing to step up. He went to the mayor. He's willing to step up. The mayor felt he could do the job, and I believe he can too. So with that, I'll be voting to confirm him tonight.
All right. No one else? Just because everyone's clearing the air tonight. To Councilor Vacan, Councilor Jordan, when I put that flyer out there, no, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I did not do that. In all seriousness, one other disclaimer, because Councilor Tallman said it. Gary Rome Honda. I did that once, and I thought he was going to body slam me. It's Hyundai.
Hyundai, I'm sorry.
I said it at a meeting one time, and he just stared at me. I was like, oh, well, that's what happens. I do know Nick. I know Nick very well. People do make mistakes. Things do happen in our lives that, it happens. So, do you just get over it and move on? No, you got to work through it. And, one thing you learn is, do you keep holding that against someone? Or do you move forward? To me, move forward. Nick is a good guy. He means well. He works really hard. He's got a family. He's volunteering to help out. He wants to be part of the park system. To me, That's honorable, and that's something you respect. And therefore, to me, I have, I understand the past. Yeah, you do question it, and I understand that. I don't take offense to it. I think Kevin's doing his job, or Councilor Jane's doing his job. But for me, Nick has learned his lesson and now wants to get involved and help out. To me, I think that's something that should be always respected. So with that, seeing no more, there is a roll call. 3 members have asked for it. The clerk will call the roll, and you're voting for confirming Mr. Duclos to Park and Rec.
Bacon,
No.
Anderson Burgos,
Yes.
Bartley, Givner,
Yes.
Jordan,
No.
Maldonado Velez,
Yes.
McGee,
Yes.
McGivern,
Yes.
Murphy Rumboletti,
Yes.
Puello,
Yes.
Israel Rivera,
Yes.
Jenny Rivera,
Yes.
Tallman,
Yes.
10 yeas, 2 nays.
Your vote, you're confirmed, Mr. Duclos. I'll help you out, Mr. Tallman.
Yes, could I suspend the rules?
19C.
19C to 19Z, abbreviated reading. We're trying to clean out the jacket and some of these appointments and
So
things
motion
are
is
already
to take
done.
up C to Z, and we're skipping
Second.
J. All those in favor?
Aye.
So C is a letter nominating a person to CAC. D is another one nominating someone to CAC. This was from me. Wow, my name on here. Acting mayor for the Board of Registrars. Another one for the retirement board, and that is F. G is for Mr. Trask, the emergency director. H is Board of Appeals. I is for Planning Board. K is for the Valley Opportunity Council. L is for the Valley Opportunity Council. M is for the CAC. N is for the CAC. O is for the DOR already recommended that the City of Hoyoke being compliant with Mass General Law 401, Section 24. P is for representatives of HG&E to discuss public access and broadband. Q is for public service in the council to develop a process for the COVID stimulus funds. R is for the CPAC. S is for newly hired web company to address issues with the city. T is for Crocker Communication. U is for the Personnel Office to approve notice of council regarding move of office. V is for Mayor's Office contract between the city and the coffee shop downstairs, which is closed. W is the Mass DOT. X is the Whiting Reservoir Committee. Y is the DPW City Engineer and Director of Planning discuss parking needs at Senior Center. And finally, Z is for the City of Hoyoke to receive a recommendation for a second time for the Mass Department of Revenue. All those are to be given leave to withdraw. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? There was no public safety, I already said that.
Yeah.
I'm trying to catch up, that was a lot. Councilor Maldonado Velez, I heard you when you said we're only on 4, so I'm moving us fast. All right. We are on DGNR.
Yes.
Yeah.
I know, you're going to keep picking on me. All right. 28, Committee on DGNR, who was referred that the council, in accordance with Mass General Law 30B, vote to accept the sale of 299 307 Walnut Street for $10,000. Recommend that be adopted. Motion be receive, adopt. Councilor
Yes,
Remember that.
thank you. This is my first committee report, so bear with me. So we had a great discussion at our DGR meeting a couple weeks back. We were joined by Mike Moriarty from One Holyoke CDC. He is, their organization is intending to use this property to complement some other properties that they have along that parcel, Walnut and Hamden Street. They have received funding through ARPA, as well as some other sources of funding. And so their goal is to use these parcels to create homeownership opportunities for first-time homebuyers. And he anticipates getting this project started and completed in the next about year. Overall, it was just a good opportunity to learn more about what they're doing. So with that.
Thank you, Counselor.
Yeah.
Counselor Puello.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Madam Chair. So this is something that, I mean, I'll say it, I really can't support. I was on that night for that meeting, and the way that this is going to work is, and I love One Holyoke. I think they're a great organization. They do a lot of things for the community. It's great. So the numbers for this are, we're giving them $355,000 in ARPA. So we're paying for the construction cost. We're giving them 2 lots for $5,000 each. They're valued at $69,000. And then they're going to turn around and build 2 multis on them and then sell them for $200,000 each. So they're making $400,000 off of this. Well, we give them $355,000. And they said, oh, well, Will, there's going to be 2 houses that are going to be on the property. They're going to generate $6,000 combined, $3,000 each, in property tax revenue. So it's going to take us like 50-something years to get our $355,000 back. So I think that the right way to handle this, and I'm kind of disappointed this got approved by so many people, I think there need to be some stricter conditions on this. Either the city gets more than $10,000 for it, or the taxpayers should benefit by saying, hey, low-income housing, this should be a lot cheaper than $200,000 a house, or we need to have conditions like electrify the building. Are they building it with oil or propane? So I think this is a very generous deal, not so much for the city. And again, I mean, I think Chair Romboletti, I think One Holyoke, Mike Moriarty's a great guy. He called me on the phone, and he laid out a lot of these points. I think it's a great organization, but this deal, I don't think it benefits the city very much, and so I can't support it. Thank you.
Councilor Bacon, then Councilor Rivera.
So I will say this, I agree with Councilor Puello on the points he's making, and I think they're very good points. However, I was one of the voices that was calling for the ARPA money to be used for long-term infrastructure investments, but the mayor didn't agree with me. So he had the power to direct that money. So the money that we're dealing with now, while I don't think it's ideal, is smaller. I really wish that money had gone to the CSO rather than to this, but here we are. And so I think your points are good, but I did support it because of the greater money being there and more relative to the location of the properties. But thanks for your points.
Councilor Rivera.
I think some of the points I would like to make with regards to One Holyoke is that they're a non-profit organization that is focused on community development. This is how they make money as a non-profit, right? Not to say that you should have to make money for developing community when you're a nonprofit, but you have to make money so you can keep the roofs over your head and so you can continue to pay the salaries that you pay at the same time. I agree that it's kind of sucks that you're kind of giving up the property, getting the funding, giving them the funding and all the other stuff with regards to that, and we're only getting, what, you said $6,000 on each house with taxes in return. But when you really think about it, if you don't do it and you don't give it to them, then we have an empty lot that actually impacts the community a lot more than the stuff that was just mentioned in a sense, right? If you kind of want to look, I mean, if you look at the Flats community overall, right? At one time, they had a bunch of abandoned, burned buildings, but I think through the 80s, 90s, at the time, I don't remember, what's his name? I can't remember his name exactly. Kershane was the executive director, and he did the same kind of process, but except that they were giving them lots for like $1 at the time, right? And if you look at the Flats now, I think Jenny Rivera owns one of the houses built by One Holyoke. If you go to the Flats now, it's technically almost all homeowner owned, and all of them were built by One Holyoke, and they were all given to all low-income residents that grew up in the flats. So if you go through the flats now, it's kind of been redesigned, and most of the homeowners are Latino homeowners that kind of got an opportunity built off of this kind of expansion in this process. I get that we're giving up a lot of funds per se, right? But ARPA money was given to us for us to kind of invest it in a sense. Maybe there's other ways, like Linda Venkin may have mentioned, there could be other ways, but this is what we have now in front of us. And I feel like I will be voting yes on this, just because me growing up in the flats, I witnessed how much of a different impact they created with regards to building these houses on these empty lots. I wish there were better looking houses, I'm not gonna lie. But I'm gonna be honest with you, there's a lot of families in the flats now that have duplexes, and they have a significant, guaranteed income from a neighbor who lives right next to them in case they ever get laid off, or in case they ever go through any financial hardships or any struggles. And that's something that's beautiful, I'll be honest with you, because it's not replicated anywhere else. That's something that's barely ever talked about. But yeah.
Councillor Givner.
Thank you, Mr. President. So I also spoke to Mike Moriarty about this project, and I thought it was very interesting, and I learned a lot about the projects that they're doing in the city. I was inspired by the fact that they already own 2 lots in that general area, so their basically intention is to buy a couple more lots and continue to put housing on them. They're all supposed to be 2-family houses, I understand. So, like Councilor Rivera was saying, you would then have new homeowners that also have a little bit of a security with a renter in the building, and they are income capped, so they are for like low income home ownership, which is nice. And considering those lots are vacant, and that block there is not exactly sparkling, I think this is something really good for the community. And since they already have these other 2 lots, I think it only makes sense for them to be able to get the others next to it, so that they can build all it, simultaneously, or plan it all at the same time. Anything that creates homeownership opportunities and clears out empty blocks, I think is a pretty good idea, and it will take a little while for it to pay for itself, but it will generate, tax revenue. So I think it's a good idea. I'm going to vote for it.
Councillor Jordan.
I had just actually a question, maybe the chairman can answer for me. In terms of the money, we provided the seed money of, I think it's approximately 400,000 plus or minus of the ARPA money. And the goal was that they would build these, at which point they would sell them, and then what do they then do with the 400,000 that they get from the proceeds of the sale? Because we're giving them the money to build. So one would think if they're not going to do other projects, the money then would come back to us so we can give it to another organization or do something, minus maybe their expenses or, their cost of what they had to do to build the house. Or are they going to then take that money and go build some more houses? So it sort of just keeps going. So does anybody know the answer to that question? Because that to me is really important, that if they're just going to pocket the proceeds of the sale, then that wouldn't be very good for the city.
No, I can appreciate that question, if I may.
Yeah, if someone could help me with that.
It's my understanding that it gets put back into more projects going forward. And just knowing from what I know about the grant funding that they are beholden to in other circumstances, it's the same way. They use those funds to start another project and do it in that way.
Okay, so that money is, my point is, it's going to keep benefiting the city. Yeah. They build these 2, then they'll build another 2. Okay, right. So that's fine, as long as the people are getting our benefit out of that 400.
It's the seed money to then future projects.
Mr. President?
Yep.
Thank you. I also had the understanding that this project costs, if they had all 4 parcels, that the project actually cost closer to like 1.3 million, and so they were raising the rest of the funds on their own outside of the ARPA funds. So the ARPA funds are in addition to monies that they already have in a pot and other monies that they've been raising to do additional projects. So this is just kind of like we're saying, it's like a sort of a snowball, and it kind of spreads around the city.
Councilor McGivern.
Thank you, Mr. President. I appreciate the ARPA monies. I don't appreciate the formula that the federal government imposed upon communities that receive the ARPA monies. But the thought that, infrastructure improvements, kind of reminds me of federal revenue sharing dollars over the years. And Councilor Rivera, your insight is incredible. You didn't surprise me, but you hit it exactly what happened in the flats with the infancy of the old Holyoke development, which became One Holyoke, after Mike Maillardi took over. And these duplex homes are a project I've always been a big fan of because it allows low-income home ownership with the way to pay off the mortgage and with the way to pay off the family's own needs to be able to not just better themselves, but eventually it's in Holyoke. A lot of people like to buy a 2 or 3 family home and eventually with the savings take the money, pay off the mortgage, and look to buy a single family home. But the importance of this program is incredible. And I'll share one story about Councilor Rivera was talking about the flats in Dick Corshane. Dick Corshane was in these chambers when we didn't call we called the DGR committee, the redevelopment committee. And I said to Mr. Corshane, you're tremendous success already in the flats. Look at Churchill. It's happening. The drug trafficking was moving in. There was problems with Needle Park, 2 blocks from this. The homes on these 2 lots were incredibly beautiful single-family homes at one time. And they went into disrepair as the neighborhood Churchill went downhill because of a lot of different reasons, but because of when the drug trade moved in and blocks became vacant, we had a lot of crime problems. And when the crime moved in, a lot of people moved out, and these homes became abandoned at one time. There are 2 vacant lots. We get 0. We don't want to own property. The city does not want to own property we don't use for a purpose. We don't need vacant lots. We need to get them back on the tax rolls with a plan that's going to make them legit for years to come. When a person buys into this duplex, they commit. They can't just resell the property and make a profit. They commit to I think it's a 10-year period
30
before they can even talk about it. And
30.
Thank you. You still amaze me, but not surprise me. And this is why I've always supported it. I just wish that this program got into Churchill before the problems that happened in Churchill. Across from these 2 lots is a I think it's 5 stories, 6 stories, 300 Walnut Street, which has been run, by the Housing Authority for years and provided, good assistance to people who are looking in need of those type of apartments. Now, one time it was all elderly, now it's mixed and it's still well run. But this neighborhood needs the spark. One Holyoke development is a spark that I think is going to help bring back Churchill the way they brought back the flats.
Councilor Rivera.
I guess for me, what I was going to say is the impact of what building on these empty lots, kind of what Councilor McGivern was saying, is first we put them back on the tax rolls. We have not been receiving any funding from an empty lot, especially if we own them. I'm sorry to repeat what Mr. McGivern said, but that's technically what I was going to say. He kind of took it from me. But then the other piece is the safety piece, right, that comes from it overall, right? You're beautifying the neighborhood, you're investing in the neighborhood, and this is what they do. They are a CDC, a Community Development Corporation. This is what they do. There are a variety of them throughout the state, and this is what they do. In Boston, there's a bunch, and in New Bedford, there's a bunch, and most of the gateway cities, there's a variety of them. Helping support these organizations and institutions will help our city grow overall, and it will improve the public safety and the flats is kind of a good example. I know some people think that the flats is dangerous today, but I'm going to be honest with you, it's nowhere near as dangerous as it was when I was 10, 11 years old. It was a different era. It was open air drug dealing for real. Like literally walk into the corner store and everybody's on the corner and you see the people out here asking for whatever they need. What you got? You got that? You got this? It's no longer like that. Things happen from time to time. That is true. Crime is crime. But now I would say the Flats is a ghetto suburb compared to what it used to be. And it's, as a result of it has to do with building on these empty lots and building duplexes for people to be able to have home ownership. And that's my piece.
Councilor Puello.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thanks to my colleagues. Yeah, I mean, everybody's brought good points, and I would agree with them normally, but again, I think this is a unique circumstance just because they're getting public money. And I think that it's going to be really important moving forward to have some sort of community host agreements moving, you know, with these, whenever they're getting public money, to make sure that somebody's benefiting from it. This is a situation where the taxpayers are giving the ARPA money, and then now they're going to have to pay again the $200,000 to buy the house. So either benefit the city, benefit the taxpayers. And again, it would only be in unique situations where we're giving them public money, so much money, and then the lots too. And any other time, I would say, yeah, give them the lots for $1, but because we're funding this entire thing, somebody's got to benefit other than One Holyoke. Thank you.
Councilor Bacon.
Mr. President, I just want to raise a point of order with my colleagues that we all have to complete the state training relative to conflicts of interest, et cetera. And so I just want to remind my colleagues that we are really to police ourselves, but if we're an employee of something under consideration, et cetera, then we need to make sure that we do not participate in votes and debate. So,
all right.
Just putting it out there.
So with that, everyone is, Councilor Rivera.
So to Councilor Jordane's question about the money coming back, not sure, Will, if Mike, I spoke briefly to Mike, and I'm not sure if he reached out to you or not, but he did. So we'll be doing a walkthrough on a project they're gonna have that will be, half of it will be on Ward 1, half will be on Ward 2. So Will and I will be doing a walkway, so the money is coming right back to the city.
Councilor Tallman.
Yeah, thank you. I don't know if everybody got the property preservation group, and one of the items at 230 Beachy was a vacant lot that One Holyoke CDC took care of. And I was in that building. I was there when it was vacant, and they had the foundation. Ended up selling it. It was a little bit less. I think it's owner occupied. It was like about $180,000. And I understand your concerns, Will. I mean, it makes a lot of sense. You know, a lot of times you see that there's government funding to build a house or an apartment building, and it's extraordinary amount, like $500,000 for an apartment building that gets funding, but it's putting people, you know, on that property. I mean, this area, and I'm very familiar with this area. I think we've been working on trying to put something there probably for the last 8 years. You know, I'm very familiar with this area on Walnut Street. It's sort of between, I think it's between Hampshire and Sargent. It's sort of near Manny's Market on the right-hand side if you're going down Walnut. And it's going to help that neighborhood. I mean, this is it's going to provide, you know, a home for somebody, and it's going to take that lot. It's going to get that community a little bit safer, you know, because it is a community with drugs and a lot of crime. So anything you can do, it's like almost when you're losing a tooth, you lose that tooth, and the rest of your mouth can get, you know, bad. But you put something in there, something solid, to give it some kind of foundation in that neighborhood, and it's just going to continue to grow in different parts of that community. So I think it's well worth it.
All right. So motion was to receive, adopt, and grant the transfer for 299-307 Walnut Street. The clerk will call the roll. If you vote yes, you're voting for the transfer. The sale.
Bacon?
Yes.
Anderson Burgos?
Yes.
Bartley? Oh, he's Givner?
Yes.
Jordan?
Yes.
Maldonado Velez?
Yes.
McGee?
Yes.
McGivern?
Yes.
Murphy Ramboletti?
Yes.
Coelho?
Nope.
Israel Rivera?
Yes.
Jenny Rivera?
Yes.
Tallman?
Yes.
11 yeas, 1 nay.
With your vote, you approve 20A. 20B, Command DGNR.
Mr. President, can we take 20B and 20C up as a package? Are we allowed to do that?
If you would like. I'm just, yeah, absolutely. So taking out B and C as a package, all those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? So 20B is 394 High Street for 15,000. And then 20C is 400 High Street for 15,000. Both have been recommended to be adopted, so motion would be receive, adopt, and grant the transfer. Councilor Murphy-Ramboletti.
Yes, so thank you. We were also joined by Diane Smith from Wayfinders for the sale of 394 and 400 High Street for 15,000 each. Their plan is to build a 5-story unit that will have mixed level income, a mix between market rate and low-income housing. These would be rental units, about 32 rental units, hopefully. And they have hopes to also have a commercial space on the first floor of the property. And so just given their track record, especially with the great work that has been done recently at the Library Commons project, the council members in this committee voted in favor. So that was our discussion.
Any further discussion? Seeing none. Motion was to receive, adopt, and grant the sale. Clerk will call a roll. If you vote yes, you're voting for both B and C.
Bacon?
Yes.
Anderson Burgos?
Yes.
Givner?
Yes.
Jordan?
Yes.
Maldonado Velez?
Yes.
McGee?
Yes.
McGivern?
Yes.
Murphy Ramboletti?
Yes.
Coelho?
Yes.
Israel Rivera?
Yes.
Jenny Rivera?
Yes.
Tallman?
Yes.
12 yeas.
Your vote, you approve those. 20D, the Committee on DGNR order that they invite in Senator Velas and Representative Duffy to DGNR. Recommend it's been complied with. Councilor Murphy-Ramboletti.
So yeah, it was a really great opportunity to hear from our state delegation. I will not go into all of the details because I want to respect everyone's time, but definitely watch that meeting if you didn't get a chance to. They discuss just a lot of great things that are happening in addition to what Councilor McGivern mentioned about local aid. They also discussed different home rule petitions and ARPA funding from the state. And yeah, we're really looking forward to bringing them back in as they get closer to doing their state budget so that we can hear what their priorities are.
All right, so motion that's been complied with. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? There was no charter rules. There was no joint committee orders. Or motions, orders, resolutions, if it's going to committee, don't.
I could suspend the rules, Mr. President, to take up 23, 24, and I hope we can do 25 as a package. There should be a replacement order for 25 as late filed.
C.
Okay, if we could
All right,
also
so
take that up and I'll
23,
explain.
24, 25, and late file C as a package. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? 23 is a transfer of $3,229.38 from captain to injured on duty. 24 is from lieutenant, sergeant, patrolman to injured on duty. For 23, that's one person. For 24, that's 10 people. Wow. 25, that one's going to be replaced by late file C because the numbers are different. So that is from lieutenant, sergeant, patrol to patrolman. So with that,
So
what was that?
Transfer more than a month.
Oh, so patrol. So they changed the way to label it. Okay. So it's the same number, but the way they had to draft it. Okay.
So it's the same numbers?
Yeah, same numbers.
But it says from what to what?
It says patrolman, but it's to say injured on duty.
I was going to say, because I've never seen patrolman to patrolman.
Yeah, we're replacing
Injured on duty.
patrol going to injured on duty.
Right.
Okay.
They're just
That's a new line item.
It's a Scribner's era, Kevin.
Yeah.
We're big on those
The
words.
lot of those
First
today,
time
yeah.
we've seen this. All right, so with that, why don't we do 23 and 24 so we don't confuse 25. So 23, 24, motion would be receive, adopt, pass the first reading.
I think we all know what
Aye.
these are, Mr. President. They're just
Yeah.
the counting so we can get the money for people, public safety officials injured on duty, away, they get paid, but away from the pay for as if they were on duty.
Yeah, it's just accounting. So all those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed?
Motion to pass the second reading?
Motion is passed the second reading. The clerk will call the roll. If you're voting yes, you're voting for 23 and 24.
Bacon,
Yes.
Anderson Burgos,
Yes.
Gibner,
Yes.
Jordan,
Yes.
Maldonado Velez,
Yes.
McGee,
Yes.
McGivern,
Yes.
Murphy Ramboletti,
Yes.
Pueblo,
Yes.
Israel Rivera,
Yes.
Jenny Rivera,
Yes.
Tolman,
Yes.
12 yeas.
Your vote to approve that. C would be a motion to send back to the auditor. That's how you want it done, Joe?
25.
Well, 25, yeah, that's
Yes,
what I meant.
at her request. She said it's not a Scribner error, it's actually a Lotus error.
Now we're getting technical. All right, so 25 back to the auditor for accounting purposes. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? C, late file C, to take up final action tonight, so suspend the rules. Motion would be receive, adopt, pass a first reading, which is $24,597.98 from Lieutenant Sergeant Patrolman to injured on duty, not to patrolman, and that's 10 again, 10 people. Any questions? No, seeing none, motion to pass the first reading. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed?
Motion to pass the second reading?
Motion to pass the second reading. Clerk will call roll. If you vote yes, you're voting for late file C.
Bacon,
Yes.
Anderson Burgos,
Yes.
Gibner,
Yes.
Jordan,
Yes.
Maldonado Velez,
Yes.
McGee,
Yes.
McGivern,
Yes.
Murphy Ramboletti,
Yes.
Puello,
Yes.
Israel Rivera,
Yes.
Jenny Rivera,
Yes.
Tolman,
Yes.
12 yeas.
For your vote, you've done C. 27.
Mr. President?
Yes. Yes, Councilor Tallman.
Yeah, thank you. I just, I don't know, I'll try to contact the chief tomorrow, but that's a high number. I mean, I don't remember we having one that high at one time for that many. I mean, we could see 4 or 5 or something, but
Yep.
that's a lot of people out, injured on duty, so. But I will try to contact the chief tomorrow to find out what's going on and how long they've been out.
I'm just speculating, but I'm thinking maybe illness.
Yep. All right, so with that, 27 from Councilor McGivern, 2,000 from head admin clerk to overtime. Just on the finance?
Finance?
Mr. President, could you just, I lost my copy. What department is this?
Purchasing.
Okay, thank you. Being in finance.
To finance, all those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? 28 from Councilor Puello, no turn on red sign be installed, taking effect when northbound on Resnick Boulevard.
Ordinance?
So this would be the ordinance.
Yep.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? This one is from Councilor Rivera, CPA 2-year extension request for City Council.
Mr. President?
Yep.
They were asked, the CPA would like to know if we could vote on this today so that they could get the projects rolling or at least get an approval and to hear back. They asked me specifically about it. It's where it stems is I guess some of the deadlines have to be extended due to a variety of different reasons. But yeah, they had asked me to file it to see if they can get the extension. I think the city engineer.
CPA projects 2-year extension request to the City Council due to extraordinary nature of the pandemic resulting to supply chain issues and various other reasons. The CPA had delays, so therefore they're trying to do Pulaski Park, 40,000, Chestnut Street, VOC, 100,000, War Memorial, 60,000, Armory, 90,000, Wayfinders Housing, 250,000, Mayor Field, 210,000. So everything's delayed.
Yeah, these are
So
all
they just
projects
want-
that were
they're all
already-
projects we already approved.
Yep.
They're just asking for an extension to.
Yep.
We already approved it. They can't do anything until.
They can't wait 2 weeks to go to finance?
Yeah, why can't it wait?
Fine with me. I don't have an issue with it. I'm just doing what
That's
I'm
okay. No, I would prefer that
Right,
if it's
so
all
to
right.
finance, 29. All those in favor?
Yep. Thank you.
All opposed? 30, that the city council work on developing a system similar to how the CPA funds are collected with host community agreements, so that would be finance as well?
Finance.
Yep.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? 31 from Councilor Rivera, order that the council invite the superintendent, the mayor, president of HEC to chat about the possibility of collaborating to offer trade certifications to adults at Dean.
Committee?
So DGNR?
Or joint
joint-
committee?
yeah.
Joint committee and
Want to do
schools.
Joint committee? All right. Okay, joint committee. I'm not going to argue. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? 32 from Councilor Rivera, order that the DPW put up a warning sign to inform drivers of up and coming raised sidewalks.
Mr. President, if I may speak to that real quick.
Go ahead.
So I know that there's signs already with the raised sidewalks. The issue with the signs that are already in place is that they're right in front of the raised sidewalks. So like just the other day, I was riding past by Dean, and it's like you're riding, and then when you get there and it hits you like all of a sudden, and you're like, okay, now I really got to super slow down because here comes the bump. So for me, it's like maybe putting one up a little further up, maybe 20 to 30 feet further up ahead of time, letting people know.
Go to public safety and we can discuss it there. And
Okay.
I know the chair of that committee. All right, so to public safety, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, 33. From Councilor Rivera, order that OPED, city engineer, DPW explore replacing fencing, grass, bushes, canals side of the street. So this would be, motion would be receive, adopt, send to those departments? Is that what you're looking to do?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I guess for me, it's beginning a conversation with the Connect plan that they have, that they've developed over years. So coming from South Hadley, they have a bike lane that goes onto Ray Street or whatnot. For me, it's trying to get them to explore how you can do that going onto Canal Street from South Hadley Bridge.
Okay, so how about, want to do public safety?
There you go.
There we go, public safety. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? 34, order that DPW work on putting up signs welcoming people to Hoyoke and the entranceway, so that would be
Public service.
public service. All those in favor?
Aye.
All
Aye.
opposed? 35 is from Councilor Tomlin, city council inviting the law department to discuss pending cases, so that'd be, want to do finance and do executive session?
Executive, yeah, I think
All right.
we were supposed to have one, I think, last year sometime, and I noticed some stuff coming up. I think it's important that we try to contact them and maybe set it up for one of our,
Why don't we do it before a full city council meeting? We usually do that.
Yeah, usually body of the whole.
Yeah.
Usually do as. for
What we do is
those.
we shut the doors here and shut
Yep.
down the equipment, so that way it's
Yep.
private.
yeah, whenever they can do
before
it, I
full city
mean,
council meeting?
within the next month or,
Okay.
so.
We'll do it before the next
Real
council
quick,
meeting. Councilor Rivera.
point of clarification, because I don't know what you guys are talking about right now.
Right, so what happens is the law department has ongoing cases.
Yeah.
And we don't discuss them openly.
Right.
So you go to an executive session, which really means you shut all the doors, shut off all the equipment, and we talk about everything.
All right then.
And then that way you can't disclose it because it's ongoing cases.
Perfect. Thank you.
All right. So that I'll have scheduled for
Usually we do it
next meeting.
probably at 6 o'clock, right before the meeting.
Yeah.
If people can know ahead of time, so everybody can get here, people work and everything, but if they can get here for 6.
Yep.
All right, so we'll do that. So motion is to receive and we'll refer to legal. All those in favor?
Aye.
All
Aye.
opposed? 36 for Councilor Tallman, the speed bumps be installed on Bemis. Yeah, I've been waiting for those two, Councilor Tallman.
Yeah, I noticed they were in the jacket from ordinance, and they took it out. And next day, I had a call from somebody that's watching the meeting religiously up on Bemis Road. He said, "I seen you leave to withdraw." So I put that back in. I didn't get a chance to talk to Mr. Parent, but I think they were planning on doing them when they're going to do the road, which might be in about 2 years.
Correct.
They don't want to put the speed humps in until the road was done.
You get the signatures?
So,
Yeah, no.
They got the signatures. They did the signatures,
I'll
right?
give the update on that. We did the signatures, we did
Yeah.
the hearings, we did the approval, but there was a cost to it. And that's where it stayed because we didn't have the cost, and they said, wait the 2 years, so when they repave it, then you'll install everything at once.
Right,
So
right.
that's where it's
But
at. Yes, Councilor Bacon.
I just wanted to clarify that getting rid of that order didn't get
It didn't get rid of
the
anything,
speed
no.
humps.
Right, right. That I figured. I just told the constituent, I said, I'll put it back in just to let them know, but I was going to contact Mr. Parent because they don't want to put them in and spend whatever, a few thousand, and then say, okay, next 2 years later, they're going to do the whole road over.
Right.
Right.
You know, so
That was
as long as
right.
it's still,
But that had come through twice.
yeah, that'll be good because that's, you know, they're concerned. They're still speeding up there. It is definitely a cut-through street from Northampton Street up to you know, East Hampton Road. So hopefully we can get that going when it's happening.
Okay, so that will just send to ordinance, so that way it's as a placeholder. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? 37 from Councilor Given that the City Council consider changing Rule 44A to reflect the following. So that'd be charter and rules. Yep.
Mr. President,
Yep.
oh, never mind. I'm sorry. I was on the wrong one. Thank
So
you.
charter and rules, all those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? 38, the council receive all documents electronically unless the paper copy is requested. This action will create fiscal and environmental savings. So that can go to,
Could be receive and adopt.
so receive and
Can't.
adopt. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? 39 from Councilor Givner that the Hoyoke Board of Health email, phone numbers, and receive health-related complaints, order nuisances, complaints generally in regard to manufacturing, commercial businesses. Do you want public safety for that?
Yes.
All right, so public safety, all those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? 40 from Councilor Given that the city revisit previous legal language to create an ordinance allowing backyard chickens as residential areas. So that would be ordinance. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? 41 from Councilor Given that the city council limit debate on items covered in committee to 60-second clarifications in form of questions, inquiry only. So that'd be charter and rules. All those in favor?
Mr. President,
Yep.
I object to this. I mean, this is a limit of debate and discussion in the public forum. I
Yeah, but
just
that's-
think
that-
it's,
Charter and rules. We don't debate it if it's going to a committee. Charter and rules. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? 42, that the city takes serious steps to create a method of enforcement. There are many ordinances and laws in place to protect citizens, so public safety.
Public
There you
safety, yeah.
So public safety, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Councilor Jordan is now up. That the city receiver, Anthony Soto, provide the city council with a specific plan and goal to the city Hoyoke Public School needs to achieve in order to regain local control. Joint committee.
with permission of the maker, I'd like to sign on to that.
I'll sign on to that too. If,
Yeah,
you know.
adding Councilors McGee and Bacon. And I'd like to have this receive, adopted, referred to Mr. Soto with a copy to the joint committee, if
Right,
that's
motion
possible.
is receive, adopt, copy to joint committee. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? 44 is from Councilor Jordan. The city council adopt an ordinance that requires all department heads and employees to electronically track all time off used on a monthly basis. So this would be
Going to ordinance?
to ordinance. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? 45, that the Council on Aging Director provide the City Council with a report from fiscal year 2017 to current on senior TAC work-off program. So that would finance, maybe?
I'd like to, well, we need to send it to Neve.
Right, so receive.
But with a copy to finance, so then we can follow up, I would say, right?
You want receive and send to finance
With a copy to Neve?
and a copy to Neve.
Okay,
President?
that's fine.
Mr. President, can I be added to that one too?
Yeah,
Sure, Counselor.
happy to. Adding Councilor
Thank you.
Rivera.
Thank you.
All right. Getting to the end here. Councilor McGee, that no truck or tractor trailer local signs at the bottom of Michelle Lane. It just says currently no exit, so they want no trucks or tractor trailers going up there. Send that to ordinance, because you're going to have to change it, I think.
Mhm.
All those in favor?
Yep.
All opposed?
Aye.
Also from Councilor McGee, Public Safety Committee, invite in the new chair and vice chair from the Bike Ped Advisory Committee. So that'd be Public Safety. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? I do believe there's one late file left. That's from Councilor Jordan, that the Board of Assessors are reminded that they are required to comply with Ordinance 2-421, along with all other boards and commissions, board meetings, be held after 5 p.m. So motion be to
Receive, adopt, and refer to the assessors.
Refer to the assessors. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? That is it. There's a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn?
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? We stand adjourned.
Yep.